This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Here are Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
Good Saturday morning to all you happy people out there. Welcome to another edition of 757 Saturday Sports Talk, powered by CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, wherever you may be tuning in. We are glad you are doing so on this particular Saturday morning. And we cue up that little jingle in the background because, why do we cue that up? Oh, guess what it is? Happy 29th. The coach, Ed Young, ladies and gents. Bravo. He's 29 today. How about that? Congratulations.
Boy, I would be dangerous if I was 29. Got to be truthful to people. 49 is the...
I was off by 20 years. My apologies.
Yeah, you're off by 20. Boy, it would be nice to be that age again. I'm just thankful to keep the consecutive streak going. I was reminded in the last few days it was my birthday today. So it is what it is. I thought I stopped having them a few years back, but I'm blessed. I would take it. And I just asked the Lord this morning. We talked a little bit about give me a few more at least.
That's what you want.
At least. Hey, and I'm doing a little something special in honor of my birthday. I know it's not a big deal to many, but I want to try to raise some money. I'm going to come a little bit out of my comfort zone, so to speak. We're going to display my Cash App.
There it is on the ticker. People can send it to
you'll see it on the ticker there.
But you're raising funds for Prom Us, which is Prom Uniquely Special, which has to do with special needs children for the prom coming up, right?
Yes, the Mount Suffolk. Pastor Carl Wilkins, Lady Jessica Wilkins. This will be their 4th annual. They run a prom. It'll be May 17th, Signet Center in Chesapeake, where they invite the special needs kids from throughout 757 for a prom, a regular prom that they may never have an opportunity to go to one. They have their own special one. And boy, do the Wilkins do it up special. I mean, if you go to the link that's on there, www.promus757.com. It'll show you some past stuff. It's just it's an unforgettable event for all those that attend, especially those kids. They're dressed to the nines, snazzy. He does a red carpet for them. They take pictures with an actual throne where they're sitting on a throne. It is absolutely amazing. My words can't do justice for it. So what I'm trying to do is raise some money, whatever you can do, $1, 20 cents, $5, whatever. I'm going to kick it off. I was blessed the other day. Somebody handed me a $50 bill, and I was like taken back. And they said that they were told to bless somebody in need. And I'm like, well, me in need, there's a lot more people needing more than me. But I'm going to take that 50, double it, put it 100. I'm going to put at least 100 towards this special occurrence. And I'm hoping maybe some of you, I know there's a lot more things you can put money to. And at this time and day, money is tight as can be. And I understand all that. But for these kids to have an opportunity, every little bit counts, and it does help them be able to come to the prom without having to pay any money towards it. Because basically, in essence, was what we're doing. We're sponsoring kids so that they can come and enjoy it and have a great 3 hours.
It is Final Four Saturday on this particular Saturday, the first one of April 2025. The women's Final Four semifinal games in the books from last night, where it was convincing wins for both the University of Connecticut and South Carolina, as South Carolina drubbed Texas by 17, and UConn was victorious by a wide margin in its game over top-seeded UCLA, led by, of course, Paige Beckers for UConn, but also Sarah Strong playing rather well for them. And They'll be taking on the Gamecocks, trying to make it back-to-back under Dawn Staley. UConn, a winner as a 2 seed, by the way, which knocked out the number 1 seed, USC, without Juju Watkins. They beat UCLA by 34. You see it across our ticker now. You got 2 good ones today, all 1 seeds on the men's side, with Auburn taking on Florida in an all-SEC showdown first up. And then it is Houston and Duke to close out the night down there in the Alamo Dome and San Antonio. The women's Final Four taking place in Tampa Bay, Florida. You've got baseball well underway. We'll dive in on that if time allows us this morning. Alex Ovechkin, kudos to him. He has tied the great one, Wayne Gretzky, in hockey. On the local statewide front, when it comes to basketball coaching news and recruitment, you have Silas Barksdale now flipping his commitment, Ed, from VCU to UVA, which we had a sneaky suspicion that was going to take place. And you have Jermaine Woods now as the new women's basketball coach at Norfolk State, which I think we sort of hinted at that would be in motion in the last episode, or maybe the episode before last on this show. So a lot of things going on in the world of sports that people can interact with us on and chime in on as we say good morning to Woodrow out there, and also say hello to Dan Malloy out there watching the show with us. You're always encouraged to interact, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel on CoVA Sports TV, wherever you are on this particular Saturday and whenever you are tuning into the show, be it live or later on demand archive. So a lot happening in the sports world. Woody says the Florida-Auburn game might be the game of the year in the NCAA. I got a funny feeling it can be as well. It would not surprise me one bit. But so there you have it. Then we'll get our first guest up, but we do have Milan Brown set to come on with us at 10:05 this morning. So we will chat with him. He is the former head basketball coach at Mount St. Mary's and Holy Cross. Also was at College of Charleston as assistant. Now is an assistant in the ACC at Pittsburgh. And we'll be talking with another couple of people as well. Who we got here? Lolo Burr, rooting my Duke Blue Devils, Plaxico Burris-like brother. Okay. And we got our man Justin saying good morning to us. We did some games with Justin up there at state tournament at VCU, Justin Waddell. And as always, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can interact with us. Ed, what do you make of some of the things we just touched on, or I just hit on as you were going through your birthday?
Yeah, it's a lot of things. I just got a notice from our first guest was going to be analyst extraordinaire, college basketball analyst extraordinaire, Steve Lapis. And he is apologizing 6 times, but he was called into studio earlier than normal. He has to be in studio by 10. He was going to come on here at 10 with us, but he's got to be in studio. He said he would try to sneak in a few minutes in between sets. I don't know what that means, but if he can, that's fine. If he can't, hopefully we'll get him on as a wrap up for next Saturday. He's really, really good at what he's doing. Now, in terms of welcome to everybody too that's chiming in. Appreciate everybody jumping in here. Those women's games last night, I happened to catch a lot of both.
Did you?
And those were not 2 games to watch if you are trying to decide if you like women's college basketball. I have no problem with it. I already like it because they were 2 domination games, but that shows you how good South Carolina and UConn can be when they are fully in operation. UCLA, Texas are 2 extremely good and talented college baskall teams, and they got, as somebody once said, taken to the woodshed last night. And it just goes to show how strong those 2 teams are. I was amazed that they would get beat that bad. But again, those 2 teams were clicking. It has set up for women's basketball, in my mind right now, without question. I don't want to hear about UCLA, Texas, Southern Cal. Oh, Southern Cal would have been there with Juju. I don't want to hear nothing. UConn, South Carolina, best 2 women's teams right now, and they're going to go at it.
Yeah, nobody's disputing it. But you talk about this all the time, and other coaches do too, that you talk about raising your level of play in those moments, and I think both of them did just that last night. It does set up for a compelling final. I'm curious, have you looked at it? Who is favored? Don't peek. What do you think the line is for that?
I'm going to say because they beat them before, even though South Carolina's defending champion, and how strong UConn's game really was, a little bit more so than South Carolina's game. UConn 3.5, 2.5.
Nope.
South Carolina.
No. UConn's favored, but more than what you said, 6.5, according to ESPN Bet.
Yeah. That's probably because of them beating them before.
Would concur with that.
I would say that game should. I'm thinking it in my head, it would be under 5 points.
Well, they didn't just beat them before, Ed. You talked about taking them behind the woodshed. They did just that in that last encounter.
That's not going to happen again. Dog Staley has anything to do with it? That's not going to happen again.
Well, I would like to believe you're correct in that assessment, but I do think that 87-58 win in Columbia by 29 gives them a little bit of a psychological mental edge. I know South Carolina's a lot better team than they showed that day, but I have a hard time seeing that outcome going their way. I think Gino's gals get this done. I think Sarah Strong's the difference. Paige Becker's great, AZ Fudd great. They have a lot of weapons on this team, and Becker's is the headliner. But Strong is the best freshman in the country, and I just think she's going to have a good game. And I don't know if South Carolina, they at times in the half court, their offense can get a little bit clunky. Now they play some great defense, and they have a deep team too. But we'll see. We shall see. You took South Carolina to start the tournament, didn't you?
To start the tournament, I had South Carolina. After last night, I think I'm hedging my bet.
Yeah, I swung you over.
I'm going to hedge my bet and go back.
Which, by the way, you can do if you had how about the guy that's got an $80,000 ticket for Florida to win the national championship? This is from way back when. If you're him, do you ride that sucker out to the end here, or do you hedge a little bit on Auburn, Duke, and Houston? Me, I'm hedging that thing. I'm not letting that thing, die on Monday night with 4 minutes to go, up 16, and you get nothing out of it. I got to bring – if I got a ticket that win me $80,000, I get at least $10,000, $20,000 out of it. I'm not letting it die. That's me. Well, what do you think about that?
So you're going to cash out?
No. Hedge, like you just said. I'm putting a little bit of something
on
the other three teams to guarantee myself a profit. It might not be the $80,000 that I would get just for Florida to win it, but would you rather have $80,000, 0, or something in between? If it's between 0 or something in between, I'm thinking something in between. I'm not going to walk away with nothing.
And for those people that don't really bet, it would be a smart thing to do because you're going to get something out of it. Now he's going to hope Florida wins it because then he gets a whole lot out of it. But you're right. You don't want to. I mean, if Florida loses tonight and he doesn't,
that's what I'm saying. You can hedge a little bit this evening if you're that guy, and then wait to hedge more Monday night to see who if they beat. If they're to beat Auburn, which is a big if, then you have it. You can hedge one way, or another way to do it is if today he could hedge. That guy could put a little something on Auburn with the point spread because they're not favored to win the game, and he could win both ways potentially if Florida was to win by less than the spread. Ladies and gents, Ed, we can't tell you the full story because it would take too long. And I'm sure the audience does not want to hear it. But Ed was jumping up and down in an establishment last week, was actually going to the bathroom to change the juju so that the Gators prevailed and got to the Final Four. So all you Gator fans out there can thank Ed Young for his motion in the ocean and activities to get that win. I wish I had a camera on you. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So,
if people don't know, Florida was getting their tails whipped. And we were both had Florida on our mind, let's say. And I sat there and said, we got to do something different. I said, I'm going to run to the restroom real quick anyways. With the idea I just have to go to the restroom. Well, I'm in the restroom for about 2 minutes. The
lead went from 6 to tie game. Game. I told you to go back in and wash your hands. And you did, which was good. You should always wash your hands.
Right. You tell me go back in anyways. I'm like, well, I already washed my hands. What am I doing?
Wash them again.
I don't want to spend time in the restroom.
For you. Yeah.
And I had to run back in the restroom. I don't know what I was just there.
Took the lead.
Washing the hands again. And I didn't know whether to come out or not. And when I came out, they took the lead.
They did.
And then it got down. They got almost they tied it again. And then you were saying go back and back.
Yeah.
This time I couldn't go back because how do I say this the right way? It was not a place to go in.
It was not. You didn't have the smell of victory. I got you. We got it.
Yes,
established it. Okay.
As the kids would say, someone done blown that place apart. So I could not go in there.
Walter Clayton Jr. How great was he? 30 points, 4 threes for the Gators the last 2 minutes and 50 seconds. And the amazing thing was Todd Golden used his last time out with 2:46 to go. That was really the only Elite Eight game that provided drama because the other games were ho-hum in terms of Duke pounded Alabama. Auburn had a little bit of trouble with Michigan State when Johni Broome went out, but it was Auburn's game pretty much the whole way. And Houston took apart Tennessee and won by 19 over Rick Barnes' Volunteers. So sets up a Final Four that I think should be compelling. We need some compelling. We need some drama because the tournament has not had a lot of spice to it, a lot of sizzle. Hasn't had a lot of the edge of your seat finishes, buzzer beaters. We've had just one. We've had just one overtime, which was the game with Texas Tech and Arkansas in the Sweet 16. The one buzzer beater was Maryland's win thanks to Derek Queen over Colorado State in the round of 32. So we need a little hold the edge of your seat finish tonight. We do. In one of the two games, if not both.
I don't have a problem with being the 4 number ones. I know some people were like, hey, we're Cinderella. How can we're hoping for a double-digit seed and whatever. We don't get all 4 number ones often in the men's. It's, I think, only second time it's really ever happened this time. So I don't have a problem with it. It's supposedly your 4 best. My bracket was busted up a little bit early by St. John, so I had in the Final Four. And then I had Tennessee beating Houston. So I go from high in a few of the brackets to also ran, hopefully next year type situation. So I'm out of it. But, yeah, I think this will be it. And it does seem most people are going with Duke versus Florida. But that Florida-Auburn game, I'm not sure. I mean, and Duke is just shooting the lights out of. And I think what will be interesting, and it's already been talked about by some of the special analysts and people, they're going into the Alamo Dome to shoot. And let's see what happens to Duke's hot shooting, Florida's hot shooting in the Dome. Because as you know, most know, shooting in the Dome, an arena-type place, is a little different than most of these places where these kids, their home courts and most of the courts throughout the tournament. So it is a little bit different. I often think maybe the final, when you do this, maybe the Elite Eight play them at domes to get the teams ready so when they come in the dome. But they do get a short practice in the dome anyways. And a lot of it is, both teams are in there.
Right.
Yes, it does. The basket does look like, ants are playing when the background is wide open. They don't put something up from behind the background of it. But it is what it is. There's going to be no excuses. Everybody's playing in it. But I am anxious to see, does it affect any of the shooters? Now, most times if you're considered a shooter, it doesn't matter where you're at. As long as there's a rim, it doesn't matter. You're going to be able to do it. But that part will be interesting.
Yeah, I think we make a little bit too much out of that whole dome situation. Just like a little bit being made out of what happened back in the previous encounter between Florida and Auburn, which was in February, when Florida was able to take down Auburn on the road 90-81 inside Neville Arena on February 8th. First time ever that Florida beat a number 1 ranked team on the road. They were down by 10 early in that game, then flipped the score, had a 10-point lead at the half, ran away with it in the second half. I think that is a little overblown. What's interesting about that is Elijah Martin, probably the second best scoring weapon behind Clayton for Florida, was out in that game. I think we make too much of that. And also, the other thing is home court. Is Houston having almost a home edge because the games at the Alamo Dome when they're from Houston? I think that gets thrown out the window when you're playing an arena that large. I don't think it's that big a deal. I think that can, be overblown. Now, they have more fans in the building because it's in Texas, and they'll have more on Monday night should they beat Duke to get to the game with Florida or Auburn. But I think at this point, they're all pretty evenly matched. It's going to be about the things it's always about. Fewest mistakes, who can execute down the stretch, hit their free throws, which can be sketchy for really, I think, 3 of these 4 teams. It can be very sketchy for Houston, which has been more in the past than this year. Florida has shown that in its game with UConn that they had to hold off. And then Auburn's got a couple of guys that are really unreliable at the foul line. So that's going to be, about free throws, executing, not making mistakes, and doing what got you there, those things that got you the lead or trying to close out a ball game, which is never easy to do. All right, we're going to take a timeout. When we come back, Ed, we got a special guest with us. He is the assistant basketball coach for the Pittsburgh Panthers in the ACC, a Hampton native out of Kecoughtan High School, Milan Brown. He'll be talking to us about the Final Four and so much more in the sport of college basketball, the wild and wacky sport of college basketball on this particular Saturday, the first one of April 2025, and Ed Young's 49th birthday. Sorry, I got you off by 20 years.
29. I got to keep it real.
All right, keep it real. Don't phony it up here. Back after this quick word from our sponsors right here on CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe wherever you're watching, YouTube and beyond here on the program. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay tuned.
James Kecoughtan tells us tonight there's a new team making new noise in the USL2 scene on the other side of the water.
Something special is brewing inside the walls of the Virginia Beach Sportsplex.
We're not here for moral victories. When we're on our day, we're a legit team.
See the stars of the future in pre-professional action at the Virginia Beach Sportsplex. This combined season ticket special is for men's and women's. That's 15 games for just $100 for adults and $80 for youth. VBU has a brand new women's team that competes in the W League. Soccer fans, it's time to rally behind Virginia Beach United. Tickets are on sale now. Visit vbunited.com. Don't miss out on Virginia Beach United.
As a banker at Town Bank, we believe that people bank with people, not with banks. You're looking for an actual personal relationship, and that's what you get at our bank. You get that person that gets to know you, gets to know your business, is there for you. I think that is what motivates us, what drives us, and the idea that we are trying to serve others and enrich lives, I think is very true.
Hi, this is Wayne Williams of Williams Deloach. I'm an experienced personal injury attorney, and I hope you don't need my services because I certainly don't like to see people injured on a daily basis. But in preparation for that unfortunate situation, your insurance coverage is very vital to your case. Give me a call today. I'd be happy to discuss your insurance situation for you and your family. That's the most protection you have, and you want to have that ahead of time.
Well, it's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that infernal revenue service. And if you're like me, you need help. Help to keep that donation as small as possible. You need John Maynard. PFP, LUTCF, EA, all those initials behind his name mean he's qualified to work on your taxes. He's an ATA, accredited tax advisor. He's an ATP, accredited tax preparer. He's a fellow at NTPI, the National Tax Practice Institute. And if all that weren't enough, he's also been voted the best of Norfolk and the best of Virginia Beach awards. John Maynard has been professionally trained in tax preparation and representation. He brings to the table over 30 years' experience in federal and state returns. He delivers personalized, one-on-one service, and he's a certified electronic filer. The IRS likes electronic filers. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service, 455-6763.
At Atomic Wings, we prioritize real chicken with fresh, all-natural, never-frozen ingredients, all packed with serious flavor. Order from over 15 awesome flavors at atomicwings.com.
And now back to Matthew Hatfield and the evil basketball coach. Blast you, Ed Young!
And welcome back to 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Matt Hatfield here with you alongside the evil basketball coach known as Ed Young. We have a basketball coach who's nothing but evil. He's terrific. He is the assistant coach for the Pittsburgh Panthers in the ACC, our good friend from the 757 out of Hampton and Kecoughtan High School. We say hello and welcome to Milan Brown. Coach, happy Final Four Saturday to you. How you been?
Good to see you guys, man. Everything's going well over here. How about you?
What's up, Milan?
Are you in San Antonio today or no?
Yeah, we're in San Antonio. Yeah.
Okay.
Down there partying his butt off.
Hey, Coach, I'm here recruiting. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. You got four good teams. You got 4 good teams to steal some players from.
Yeah, we wish.
It's a little different on the recruiting trails now, but as our basketball fans who are watching, if anybody has an opportunity to ever go to a Final Four, Milan, I always tell people, I've been blessed to go to 8 or 9 of them. You got to go. It's a basketball fans paradise. Coaches is tremendous because it's the coaching event. Also, the coaches clinics and all that stuff there too. But it is a heck of an event.
Yeah, it definitely is should be a bucket list thing for any big sports fan.
Well, before we get into the matchups today, let's kind of put a capsule on. You just hit on it to a degree, that the portal and things where it is in college basketball. Now, your season, how it ended up there in the ACC at Pitt. I know the ACC has taken some hits this year, not having the typical year it's accustomed to for so many years, being either the premier conference or one of them in the country. But take us through how it went, and then now how different it is from when you first started this thing. And you've been an assistant, you've been a head coach, different stops, of course, which we've highlighted on the show before, like Mount St. Mary's and Holy Cross. But kind of how you digest it all, because there's really no more offseason. It really wasn't in the past, but now it just goes straight into boom, next thing.
Right. Yeah. You're right about that. There is no off season, and once your season ends, you're right into recruiting, the portal. Even though there's a time when it opens up, you still have to get adjusted and ready for it, because people are working behind the scenes to try to get ready to go into the portal. So it being in the business for 30 years now, seeing all the changes and getting to the point now where, the kids will be able to get paid, the time frames at how you can pay them and when you can pay them, and guys going to play for 3 or 4 different schools. It is definitely a different time, but at the end of the day, I would like to complain about it, but as my father once told me when I got into coaching a long time ago, when I was frustrated about something that was going on, my dad said, just remember, you have on a t-shirt, a shorts, and a whistle to go to work. So whatever the times require from us as a coach, we're going to do. So but it's definitely different. The things you have to worry about a little bit is that with all the hopping around, it's just some of the stability with the kids. And for us, it's a little bit harder to maintain a roster. So it's almost as if really we're all junior colleges right now. You're hoping you can keep a kid for 2 years, and if you keep them past that, you're lucky. But probably every year you're going to build a new team.
Yeah, it really feels that way. What's to you the common thread or theme for these 4 teams that have made it? All right, it's been talked about as a chalky tournament, all 1 seeds with Houston, Duke, Auburn, and Florida, a couple from the big mighty SEC. You hear the talk of Cinderella may be dead now. They're able to poach players from mid-majors, but I kind of feel like this is an outlier to an extent. I do think there's some issues with the portal now that are going to make it harder for the lower seeds, the double-digit seeds, to make that run like George Mason and VCU did. But why are these 4 here as opposed to maybe a 2 like a St. John's, or a 3 or someone else that's viewed as a blue blood? What to you has kind of stood out about those 4 schools, Milan?
Yeah, well, it looks like these 4 guys have run the race pretty much the entire season as well. I think each of these teams have either won the regular season or won their tournament. So, they approved from the get-go back in November. They were one of the better teams, and they ran their race for 4 or 5 months, and, they are proving this is why we're the number 1 seed. They obviously have a lot of talent. And each of them have really, really good coaches as well. So I don't know about the Cinderella part. It'll be interesting to see. Yes, the mid majors are getting poached. There's no question about that. And hell, we're taking from each other as well. We're just kid jumps from our school to somebody else's. We take their players, almost like we're trading. But I think the biggest thing is these 4 guys are really good. We got a chance to play Duke, so we know how that feels. We played Florida last year, so I can see how they grew up and made the next step. So, and then obviously with Houston and Auburn, you can just, with the ferocity that they play with. So it's just 4 really good teams that ran the race and were able to continue to get better as the year went on.
We're talking about Milan Brown. He is the associate head coach to Jeff Capel with the Pittsburgh Panthers in the ACC, 17-15 this past year. Milan's got roots from the 757 Kecoughtan High School alum out of the city of Hampton in Virginia. Has been a head coach at Holy Cross and Mount St. Mary's. Our guest here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and interact with us wherever you are tuning in. Before I let Ed jump in here, Coach, I also want to get your take on being in the ACC. You've dealt with this before. You see a team you've seen before. It's a rematch game. Obviously, in the first one coming up tonight on CBS there at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, it's Florida, Auburn. Gators won in Auburn, who was number 1 in the country then. And they were, I think, like Auburn's like a 10-point favorite in that game, 90-81. I believe Elijah Martin didn't play, but Walter Clayton led the way, and he's been leading the way for them all year long. Is that at all a psychological, mental edge for Florida, a disadvantage because Auburn wants revenge? What's your view of that? And having been a coach in these situations before, granted not in the Final Four for that, what's kind of your view of it? Is it much of a factor or a non-factor at all?
I don't think it's going to be that much of a factor. Each team gets a boost. So Florida will have a boost because they know what they did before worked. So they obviously are going to have confidence playing against them. Auburn, the one thing that happens for the team that lost is that Auburn will probably have a bigger chip on their shoulder to prove that they should have won the first game, that they are the better team. The only one thing I will say is when you're on the other side of it and you lost that matchup, if things aren't going well in the game early, it can start to maybe creep in your mind like maybe these guys just have our number. So I think it's 50-50 on both sides of it. The good thing is they played a little while ago. So when you get to this point and trying to play for the Final Four, I'm pretty sure they'll have clear minds and clear hearts and want to get to work.
Yeah, good point, Ed.
And Milan, it's so many things I want to go over. Before I dive into the games, I want to just touch on a little bit. I know we can't go deep into it because we'd be here all day. But since we got you on, you've been into business, I always want to get you guys' opinions. Yes, the portal, NIL, all this stuff it's not going to change its here. And you made a great point. Deal with it, and I'll add, or get out. Because if you don't deal with it, chances are you will be out because it's ever moving, ever changing. And you made a great comment because I said this earlier too. It's like junior college recruiting. You're going to have the kid for a year, maybe two, and then get ready because it's going to change. But in a nutshell, and I'm for players getting paid, but what do you think? How if you're the czar, the commissioner, if you have the power to say, boom, here's what's going to happen, what kind of changes would you like to see happening? I know we can't just get rid of it. But what maybe, I know people talk about contracts and have the kids sign like an independent contractor status, or they had to be locked for at least 2 years. What changes would you like to see?
Right. Well, I think the contract part of it, obviously they're signing contracts now to receive the money that they can get. I think the biggest thing probably from a coach's standpoint, and I know people have talked about it is turning to overseas and NBA, and we're probably going to have to go that way where there's a collective bargaining agreement. We need to find out and we need to understand how much that we have to spend and what are the parameters with that so that we aren't just chasing our tails. Because at this point, Coach, and you understand this, and Matt, you've heard some of the things, we don't know how much it's going to take in order to get a player. So it's literally negotiating back and forth. And if somebody comes in at the 9th hour and decides, hey, we can double that, all of a sudden things change. And so if you had some situation, even like in the in the NBA where there's a cap as far as where you can go, I think that's going to probably clear some things up, help us with some guidelines for not only the coaches, but the players and the schools. So I would think that would be the biggest thing. I think it's going to end up looking like the NBA, and we're going to need to probably have a collective bargaining agreement to figure out how we're going to do these contracts.
And see, that's kind of what I think too, because right now it's just wild. Like, let's say you guys, Pitt offers a kid, $1 million to sign in. You think, okay, we got the kid, and then all of a sudden you find out Auburn offered him $2 million, and you lose out on the kid thinking you're going to get him, and then you jump back in and say, no, we got to get this kid, so let's offer him $2.5 million. To me, it's asinine, but that's basically what is happening because, as you said, there's no rookie scale to go by entering freshman or whatever. So therefore, nobody's going to call you and say, hey, how much you offer that kid? We're going to offer more or whatever. It's shoot him up, bang, bang. This is what we're going to offer the kid. You hope he commits. But the loyalty, I think, is really to the money. And period. It's nothing about your campus, his major, great coaching staff, things that kids looked at before. Unless I'm wrong, it's basically strictly who's got the best offer.
Well, yeah, the offer is a huge part of it now. We definitely know that with the money that's floating out there. But to your point, Coach, I think the biggest thing is not necessarily, at least the way I feel, I know other coaches may feel differently. It's not necessarily about, hey, the money was upped and you have to jump up, because that happens in the NBA. Some teams can pay more than the other guy, and you have to turn around and say, well, are you going to jump, or are you going to stay where you are? The issue with us a little bit is we don't know if the number is real. We have no way of knowing. So if they call us and tell us whatever they're hearing, we don't have any way necessarily to fact check, besides word of mouth, that yes, this actually is the number that the kid is seeking. So that's a bit of a tough part for us. If that was cleared up a little bit, at least we know, okay, well, this is actually what's going on. This is where the money is. And it would give us the opportunity to manage the budget that we have. Some schools are in different spots, like in life and anything else. They're the haves and the have-nots. And you hope in this day and age, in this world of college sports, you better be one of the haves, or it's going to be tough to continue winning.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Coach, but you also have a situation now where it's affected how you go about, maybe not the way you guys evaluate talent coming in from the high school level, but the way you approach maybe building the roster. Whereas if you're not a top 250 level high school player, 4-star, 5-star kid, if you're one of those kids that's on the fringe, those kids get put on the back burner for those more seasoned players that are 23, 24, 25 years old, right?
Right, yeah. Because of the money and the rule changes now, it has sped up even more. And Coach, you know this from being in it. Everybody wants to win big yesterday, not now. They want it to already happen. So it's even sped up even more now with the money that's floating around to get it done. So yes, the high school kids, some of the times, if you're not one of those guys that is highly touted, it can be tough. You might have to play the waiting game and might not get exactly what you thought you were going to get, because yes, we're in a situation where we need to win yesterday. So how do you do that? Most of the time you need older players. So you go to the portal first and foremost to try to get those guys. Now, not that you can't find some good high school guys. We have one coming to us, and so those guys are going to be really good. Last year we had a really good one. Bub came to us. Bub stayed 1 year, and he was the 14th pick in the lottery. So you still have to recruit the high school players, but I do feel a little bad for those guys because they may have to go a step down from where they thought they were going to go, but they're going to play well, and the following year they're out of there and they'll be up at our level because of what they were able to show and prove on where they were.
Yeah, and Bub Carrington already averaging 9.5 points per game for the Wizards. We're talking with Milan Brown, assistant basketball coach for the Pitt Panthers out of the ACC. He from Kecoughtan High School in the 757. Our guest here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk, powered by CoVA Sports TV, as we break down the Final Four coming up later today. Ed, with Auburn taking on Florida, Duke taking on Houston.
Well, again, getting back to the games again, I kind of, when you look at, like you said, Milan, Florida, Auburn have already played each other, and Florida's won. I often think in those kind of situations, and I think you touched on this too, the team that lost has a little bit more pressure on them to change some things. They may look at that film a little harder because we lost. So what can we clean up on our end? Because that's the thing you have most control over, is what you do. So what did they take advantage against us the last time that we messed up? And we have to fix that. Whereas the team that won, you have to kind of think, the pressure comes with the idea, what may they do change? What kind of change may they do? Because you already beat them with what you did. Now you just got to hope your kids do exactly that, if not better. So I kind of tend to think that pressure is on the team that lost, if you want to say there's pressure out there. And the stakes are greater now. I mean, you're one game away from playing for the biggest trophy in college basketball. Do you look at it in that terms of that way, or both teams, it's pressures both ways, or pressure is what you make it?
Well, you definitely know there's pressure both ways. I think both of these teams and all four of them will look to pressure. Pressure is a privilege, so they'll look at it that way. The pressure is real because they're in the Final Four. The goal was to get to the Final Four, so they're okay. I will say that the one thing about Florida with them winning, the thing that may be a little bit tougher is what we won, and like you said, Coach, we can do what we just did, and let's just stick with that. And as a coach, you're going to say they'll be ready for that. They're watching the film like we did. We need to make some changes. The tough part is you won. So you could possibly making changes that you're just making up because of some adjustment you think they're going to do. Whereas the losing team, they can look at the film and say, well, this is what they did to us on the ball screens, or this is how they played the pin downs or our zoom handoffs. So let's just make this adjustment on how we're going to adjust to how they played it. So it's a little bit easier for them to make that adjustment, like you said, because they lost. But both teams are gonna they'll have definitely a few different tricks up their sleeve just in case. But they have to both believe what we've done to this point is good enough to get us here. Let's just finish it out.
I think one thing that's gotten a little bit forgot about Milan is we talk so much about just how great Houston's defense is. Florida's been on a tear as of late. Duke's looking like maybe the best team we'll get to because obviously you've seen up close and personal playing them in the tournament with Cooper Flagg leading the way and just the weapons they have with Malawach and Tyrese Proctor and Con Knipple and it goes on and so forth. Sion James has been a weapon shooting it. But Auburn was the number one team for much of the year. And when you look at their starting five, and this could be a factor come Monday night with Duke's youth, they start senior. Janai Broome, senior. Dylan Cardwell, senior. Chad Baker-Mazara, while he's a wild card, senior. Miles Kelly came from, obviously, in your league, Georgia Tech, AC, senior. Denver Jones, senior. Does that play at all a factor when you have older veteran guys against even a team like Duke that might be younger? They don't see them, obviously. They wouldn't see them until Monday night. But what's your view of that now and how it changes with – there are some one-and-done guys, but there are also some guys that have been around, it seems like, 7-8 years in this thing.
Right. Yeah, Auburn is a very old team. I think I heard that they have – they're older than 2 or 3 NBA rosters. So that's the way of the world now. And yes, in college basketball, if you can get older, that is I think a more purposeful way of trying to get better and know you're going to be better. The youth part of it, if you're younger, then you need to do it the way Duke is. We're young, but we have the best young kids. So they're okay with that. I do think the one thing with Auburn, in the fact that they're older guys, I don't think any be shook in any way because they've seen just about everything. Even though together this is the first time they've been to the Final Four, but they have so much experience, and they're really, really good players. You know, the one thing they'll probably try to draw back on when they're playing Florida a little bit, and then they talk about the adjustments, is like, well, Miles, I think, Coach, I'm going to do my research now so I can make sure I'm ready for this. But I think Miles Kelly was the leading scorer when they lost to Florida, which makes perfect sense probably for Florida. They're like, great, that means Broome didn't kill us. So their approach obviously was, let's see what we can do and take Broome out. He's the guy that kind of guides them. So, but having those older guys at Auburn, I think is a tremendous advantage for them, because of not being shook. But I think with Duke, with the youth that they have, those guys have been on such a big stage at a young age, even before they got to college, that I don't think the bright light. Cooper Flagg is definitely not afraid of any bright lights. None. And I think the confidence and his competitive spirit, as you can see, has flowed throughout Duke's team.
Ed?
Milan, also, I touched on this a little bit before you came on. Going to the Dome, Alamo Dome to play, the big arena. Duke's been shooting the lights out. Clayton's been setting records like crazy and scoring. Sometimes the different background can affect certain people, though. You and I, as a coach, we always tell the kids, 10 feet, the rim is 10 feet. They're shooting the same baskets we are. They don't want to hear that mess. But we also know kids are kids, even though these are young men in their 20, 21, 22. The atmosphere is a little different. How much does it play a role at all, if at all? And if that's true, Duke's been shooting lights out. Could that be their Achilles heel now in this tournament? Because Houston does put pressure on you.
Yeah, I think, that's a good point, Coach. Obviously, with playing those domes, the background is so different. Even in the arenas that we play at the high major level, they're not like this. The background, so much space behind the goal, it just changes. Sometimes your vision, and you're just not used to shooting at that with that depth behind it, and that depth perception behind the basket. But they went over there and practiced the other day. I think more so than the background, I think the background of an arena, coupled with how much Houston pressures the ball and how good they are defensively, definitely could be a factor. But one of the reasons why Houston is really good is they shoot the three really well. Look, that's one of the things I think that's one of the biggest reasons why they've been good. Not that we knew they were going to be good defensively and know they're going to rebound, but those they are shooting three, and they're doing a great job of it. So I think it could be a battle for both teams because Duke's very good defensively as well. So the one thing I will say with Houston and Duke, if it does get a little dicey and guys aren't making shots, Houston will probably try to make sure they get in that isolation situation or that pocket pass with Roberts, see if he can get downhill and shoot his little left-hand floater, which is not a three. And Duke will try to play with Flag out of the mid-post and post and try to work from there. So they both have an answer if the ball isn't going in from three.
And I think also one thing people have to understand, you haven't gotten this far doing a lot of different crazy things. You're going to do what got you there. And if it's execution, you got to execute. That's the bottom line in any athletic event is you got to execute no matter what the situation is, atmosphere, whatever, you got to execute. And you're not going to do a lot of changes unless you're going to run some stuff now that maybe people haven't seen lately because you've been running it in practice or whatever. Maybe you used it early in the year. You didn't really need it lately, but you're not going to just throw something out there now because as you mentioned a few minutes ago, sake of change. Right. They're going to think we're going to do this. So let's change this because now the players are like, well, what are we doing? Why is that going on? And it could, again, mentality of players, it could affect it. So you got to do what got you there. And it really does come down to execute overall. And then you got to hope your studs show why they're studs because This is the time to step up.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And the other part too is we know usually in these situations, your best players have to be at their best, like you said, Coach. And then you need one guy, somebody that's maybe averages 8 points, and that night he gives you 12. Or somebody that usually blocks one shot a game, he gets 3. There's going to be one of, as Shaq and Barkley call them, the others. One of the others is going to need to step up as well to make sure that you get a little extra boost when you need it. Because at this stage, usually magical things can happen, and somebody's going to be able to do it for sure. And the one thing I'll say about Houston, I know we're talking about them playing Duke, and because we played them, and Matt, you alluded to this about our league wasn't great this year, and that's true. We didn't have a typical year for us, but everybody in our league knew that Duke was the best team when we played them. So I know there's a lot of conversations about, man, that they're not getting tested. They need to get tested. And I was thinking the whole time, and obviously, our coach, Jeff Cable, he knows the program so well because he was a part of it. But fellas, until they walk out there and play you, you don't have any clue how big and athletic they are. But you can think, well, I'm just going to beat Kyle Knippel off the dribble. That's not happening. And I think the biggest thing that has been, Cooper Flag is a very good player. He's going to be the number 1 pick. Great defender. The defense for them is so good because when they switch, it's because of James and Malawat. You can't post James because he's too big and strong. So your posts don't get any advantage, and he plays the point. And if you just try to ISO Malawat, he's good enough to change every shot that you try to make as a guard, which turns you into straight ISO basketball. But they are a big team. They're long. If Brown can play, he's actually the best defender.
Yes.
he hadn't even played. They showed you when Flag got hurt, they still were going to win the ACC tournament because Knippel is really good. But until you get on the floor, it's almost like the same thing with Houston. Until you get on the floor with Houston, you don't understand how hard they're blitzing the ball screen. It's just like, man, how fast they're going after the ball and things of that nature. The same thing with Duke. Until you get on that floor, you can't really imagine or feel there are no gaps. There is no opening. They're too big.
Well, you hit on a great point, Coach, because and you've seen enough of Milan Brown from his days at Syracuse, then Duke. We watched him when he played for Blue Ridge and Team Loaded on the AAU circuit. He's such an X factor for them. And I think early on, you can tell me if I'm wrong, I think John Shire was maybe fighting or still figuring out, maybe not fighting is the right word, how to use this group with the vets and the young kids and meshing it. He brought in Mason Gillis as well from Purdue, how he's going to make all the pieces kind of fit. And they lost a couple games close early on to like a Kentucky. They beat Auburn, by the way, after Auburn had won that Maui at home. But their length is such a big deal in this matchup. And Houston does shoot it better, like you said. With, last year they lost. It's similar to Auburn, Florida. They lost to Duke in the Sweet 16 in a game. Jamal Shedd got hurt. Jamal Shedd now in the NBA, but they didn't have Milos Uzan. LJ Cryer comes in from Baylor. Obviously, Duke didn't have Knippel and Flag. It's a different group. Last thing on that question before we pin you down and get a pick and let you run here, and I'm sure Ed will finish up with a question or two for you. Does this game have to be in a certain number in terms of 60s, 70s? If it gets above 70s, Houston can't win that game. What do you think as far as the tempo, the pace? Does Houston want it to be slower? Duke want it to be faster? What's your view of that? Does it have much of an effect on the outcome per se?
Yeah, I don't know about that. Both teams are really good. I think that it's definitely a heavyweight boxing match, so they'll probably feel each other out. I think both of them would like to try to be up tempo if possible because you need to try. Both teams are so good defensively. You need to try to get easy baskets. So if you can run in transition, you better go before both teams get set up because it'll be hard to score points. I definitely think Duke will try to get it back and forth in a little bit of a tennis match. And Houston, I would say what they're probably going to try to do, which would make perfect sense, is they're going to try to turn into a street fight and make it one of those situations where, they try to drown you in 6 inches of water, which means we have to get up close and personal, and it just becomes a really, really ugly event. And I think if they can turn it to that, it'll give them the best advantage. But Duke can play that way too. So if I'm doing my pick, I would say I think it's a close game, but I do think Duke's going to come out on top. They just they have a lot of answers to a lot of questions.
All right, so you got Duke getting to Monday night. Who do they see Monday night, and who wins on Monday night?
Again, we played Florida last year, and they've gotten better from what we saw. So I understand the physicality they play with. They're a little bit unique in the fact that they played 10 guys with the 4 posts with all great size. I think the one thing that could hurt Auburn, even though I love the pace they play with and their guards, Pettiford, Miles Kelly, I think they're really good. I don't know how Broom's going to obviously play, but I don't think he's all the way back healthy, but he won't care about that. Coach, he's old enough. Those guys, they're like us, Coach. You're a grown man. Go to work. So we'll talk about if you're hurt afterwards. But
yeah, you got the rest of the summer to get your arm fixed.
Out there play, but I think Florida comes out on top on that one. Clayton is special. I really like the kid Richard. The boy, he's a really, really good player. But I think the one thing I know Auburn does like to switch, and they have good size, but not great some on the wings. And Florida does have just enough of the post players that if you do switch enough with them, they can actually throw the ball. That's a little bit of a lost art in our game today because it's such 5-out shoot to 3. But you can see a little bit Florida's doing it, Duke somewhat to a certain extent. All these teams, Auburn, Coach, they're going a little bit back to double post. And the big guys that are mobile, the one thing that Florida do, I think they can post the switch a little bit more. So I think they went out a little bit on posting the switch and rebound the switch rather than Auburn continue to space them out because Florida won't necessarily switch a lot.
That's a good point.
So you got Florida Duke in the final.
Yep.
And who do you got winning it?
I think, again, just seeing it up close and personal, I think Duke ends up winning it. And maybe that's me still being shell-shocked from playing in Canada, going, all right, fellas, it's an 8-point game. We're right there. Let's make sure. And we snapped our fingers like, all right, fellas, it's a 22-point game. Let's it went away from us quick. But I just think Duke has a lot of answers to a lot of questions, and it's Cooper Flagg for them. I think he's he's obviously the best player, but the thing I think that's great about him, Coach, is he allows the other guys to be really good. So it's not like he's going out there trying to get 30, but he can get 30. But you saw in the other game where he was spinning and throwing lobs and skip passes and no looks. So he gets a joy out of allowing others to get better. And then he doesn't have a problem where, they do that 4-2 ball screen with him and Krimmel, where he's coming off the ball screen, hoping they get a switch so he can throw it back to Krimmel, and now he can shoot the threes, got you in closeouts. And then Proctor's back to playing how he was. They thought he was as a freshman where he's a pro. So they have a lot of answers to a lot of questions that are going to be asked in these type of games. But I think it'll be another close one. But I think Duke pulls it out. The only way I don't see that going that way is if Mr. Clayton goes crazy, which he could. But defensively, when Duke starts switching and putting that length out there, it's hard just for a guy to ISO him for 25 minutes and think you're going to win. That's not going to work.
Yeah, at this level, these teams make it earn it even more. And you're right. You guys were up 1 on Duke, 14-13, 9 minutes to go. And the next thing you're down 10.5, lose by 29. It does feel like I haven't studied the analytics numbers like you probably have, Milan, that Cooper Flagg's proficiency has gotten better as the season's going on, maybe taking less bad shots, more quality shots, which is part of the growth of a freshman too, I would think. Right.
Yeah. And that was the thing. Like he, as good as he is, and the kid Krimmel, as good as they were at Malawash, like they were still 17-year-old kids. I mean, it takes time. And I think the couple of bumps in the road that they had might have been the Auburn game where Flagg turned it over twice. So Krimmel, those type of things. You want that. You don't want to lose the game. And Coach, you understand this. You never want to lose. They wanted to go 35-0, but the lesson that they probably were able to learn from the loss, because everybody's antennas go up because you lost. So then you have to listen. And so I'm pretty sure Shire and those guys were able to drive some more points home, and then they just got a little bit more comfortable with each other and playing. And now they are a train rolling downhill with no brakes. So he is really, really good, but he has some really, really good pieces around him. And again, at that size that they have, it does make it difficult to score on them. They force a lot of tough shots.
Well, always a pleasure having you on the show. We thank you so much for coming on. Enjoy the Final Four down there in the Alamo. Get some churros with Mr. Barkley if you run into him. Ed's got one more thing before we let you go here. What you got, Ed?
One more thing, but I ain't going to let him get off the hot seat. Milan is used to knowing his dad back in the day, God rest his soul. Milan has always been on the hot seat because sometimes he had his seat got hotter by dad. Right. So, Milan, I got to ask you, we got to see you be a head coach again. I know sometimes we get in a situation, we're comfortable where we're at, things are good, you're in a great school, great conference. Is Milan Brown eventually going to be back at the number one chair somewhere, as long as somebody at the right place? Because I think you're at a point in your career now, you can honestly say this, I ain't just taking anything. Will we see Milan Brown get a head coach, get a head coaching position soon enough, if not this year?
Yeah, obviously, I don't hide from that part of it, Coach. I definitely would love to be a head coach again. And part of the reason is what I've been able to learn being an assistant, not only here with Coach Capel, which has been great, and at Pittsburgh, which has been great, but also when I was able to go with Earl Grant at College of Charleston. And it's interesting what you learn when you're 16 inches away in the other seat, not the head seat. You have more time to figure some things out, jot some things down. Oh yeah, I would try this. I think I would do this a little bit differently. And you can learn from the mistakes that I made. So obviously I love where I am. I think we're going to be good. We're building the program and going in the right direction. But yeah, if an opportunity came up and it was great for myself and my family, I definitely would love a chance to get one more crack at it to see if some of the things that I picked up along the way in the last 5, 6, 7 years, if I could put it to use being a head coach again. So the only thing I need, now if I am a head coach again, Coach, I'll call you because it seems like I'm going to need some money to get players. So I'll make sure I get my 75%. Actually, I need you to pay me just for the 5-star when I didn't when I was at 5-star on your team, and I had to wait my turn. Hey, Coach, but that worked out great for me because I ended up at the right spot at Howard University and got a championship and was able to make an impact as a player there. And as my daughters text me when they're going around or people send me stuff, it's pretty cool when they say, "I didn't know your jersey was hanging up there." And I said, "Yeah, that's part of picking the right spot where you can go play. You got to be able to make plays." But yeah, if I get that chance to get in that chair, Coach, I'll make sure I call you, and I'm pretty sure you and Matt, both of y'all, I need y'all to be the first ones to make donations to the NIL.
Hey, right now I'm a free agent. And Nancy River did not want me back coaching until I retired as a teacher. So I spent the years as a free agent. I saw close to 40 high school games.
He went to more games than I did, Milan. More than I did.
Way more. I had to give him expertise. Right. And about 15 college games. And I did something too, Milan. I kind of sat back and said, you know what? Let me watch everything. I didn't just watch the kids play. I watched coaches when the kids were down this end. I'm watching coaches. I'm watching timeouts. Why? Why not? I'm watching officials, management of game. I'm watching interaction. I watched everything, noted everything. So when I get my shot, because I do want to come back, I'm going to be a little different too. I was rolling forever as a coach, and sometimes you get stuck in what you're doing, even though it's been successful. I'm blessed. The Lord forgive me, good kids, good assistants, because, getting over 500 wins, we have to do something right. But I said to myself, you know what? I would do this. I would try that. I'm going to try that. Boy, I noticed myself changing in my head. So I'm anxious for that spot. But if somebody wants an old head on their college bench to say, Milan, what the hell are you doing, man? Why are we going man? And not take it personal, we can do that. I'm cheap. You don't have to pay me a whole lot. We can hire this knucklehead. He would be excellent as that new GM stuff and deal with the money. Let him deal with. Trust me, this dude over here can deal with the money, because if I could say this out loud, DraftKings, FanDuel, all they love this guy to a degree.
Don't say that.
So he could, and I'll leave it at that. So he could handle the money. Milan, all you got to do is just keep everything going, smooth right down the line. But we do, in all seriousness, we do hope you get a shot. Every time an opening comes up in the state of Virginia, we always throw your name out there and we don't do it just for the hell of it. Really, there's a lot of positions they would do well to hire you. We always say Virginia because of your 757 roots. We'd love to see you come on back, but your expertise at all these other places is definitely going to make you even better as a head coach and what you're doing. You hit it right on the head. I know you don't want to spout yourself a lot because that's not your style, but people would be extremely smart to look at you and your background and what you've been through and what you got as a player. Some people don't know. You're getting older. People don't remember Milan Brown as a player. You worked your ass off for a lot of things. I was a small part of that. The 5-star story is always crazy. I benched Milan.
Wow.
At 5-star, there was a way you played. We were told you play your best 5 kids in the second and fourth quarters.
Yep.
And then you play your other 5. And I remember standing up saying, well, these kids are pretty damn good. I mean, I got like 8 good kids. Well, and Garth was like, no. You play here. You're playing these kids second and fourth. He would tell you. And I'm like, oh, shoot. He just told me to play Milan Brown first and third. And sure enough, and Milan, the competitor he is, Coach, what are you doing? And Charlie Brown was getting ready to make a trip to Pittsburgh. I said, boy, I'm going to get earfuls from Charlie Brown. I already know what's going to happen. And you held him at bay. And I know, Milan, for the life of me, I can't remember who the other point guard was.
I can't either, Coach. But I did understand afterwards a little bit, because I was a little bit like, well, I don't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And I do remember calling, obviously, my father. I do remember calling and going, they had me playing the first and third quarter, obviously, because I knew how it worked. We had been there the year before when we were all able to get the little discount because, Alonzo Mourning was the counselor. So we just drove up. We're out in the van. This Alonzo, Terry Kurt, we're all riding in the van, Cornell Parker. And so but he would just, you know how my dad was. He was definitely ticked off and trying to, you know, and come on, Ed, like Ed. But
right.
He was like, at the end of the day, though, he was like, well, you do what you need to do. And I don't know if you remember, Coach, but the one time, I can't remember the kid either, but he twisted his ankle. He wasn't great. And I had to play one of the days where we didn't have it. Like you said, we had like 8 or 9 guys. I had to just play the whole time. And, you know, I was able to play. And I think one of the games, because we won the championship that year, for that camp. And I think one of the games I had to play the whole time was against Terry DeHare's team. So we didn't have another point guard. So you were like, well, you had to play, forget the second and fourth. You had to play 1 through 4, which to me was great. I was like, well, this is back being at Kecoughtan, just hooping. And so was able to make some plays and prove a point. But it was so funny when his ankle was a little bit better the next day. I went right back to first.
and I'm telling you, because when it happened, when it happened, I said to my other fellow coach, and I said, damn, the kid's from the same area I'm from. I know his dad. I'm going to get ripped because I wanted you in that quarter. And I remember Garb saying to me, what are you doing? Because I think in the first game, I had you second quarter. Garb came up to me. Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? I said, well, you said to play the best kid second, fourth. And of course, you know, I'm cheating towards you anyways.
Right.
And I can't believe I can't remember the other kid's name. But again, I was going to play you second, fourth. And then Garb came over, you know, and you know how Garb can be. Right. He's not subtle on anything. and so we played you there. And I remember you were mad at me too. And I remember saying to you, Milan, this is your shot now. Okay, my hands were tied, but now guess what? Now you're playing. It's just, you know, you got to play. I can't run the 2 guard at the point. So you're going to play. Just do what you normally do.
Right.
And you took it, and to your credit, you took it and you busted like crazy. And then I remember some people saying to me, hey, that kid might be, I said, remember at the meeting, I kept telling you all, this kid should be playing second and fourth. That's why I drafted you, because I knew who you were and what you did. And I said, man, the next time I run into Charlie Brown, I'm going to get my ass whooped because he's going to be mad as can be. But that's our little story together through all these times. But you were a self-made player. You busted your butt. You hated to lose, and you did whatever had to be done. And you always cherished playing against those better people. So I knew you were going to make a great coach and keep doing it. So we're honored to know you.
Hey, Coach, you know that phone call was short when I called home, though, to try to tell my dad what's going on. He was basically telling me, hey, dude, shut up and play better. And then he gave the phone to my mom, and then that was the end of that. And then she said, okay, baby, well, I guess there's nothing else to say. So usually those phone calls home trying to complain and tell something to my father lasted about 2 minutes, and it ended with shut up and play better. So
and you know, and the last thing is, I know we're holding you up. This is how things have changed. Nowadays, that kind of a phone call would have been, you know what, pack your stuff. We're going to go to ABC camp down the road. We'll transfer and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes kids don't ever get better. And it wasn't a situation where you needed to get better. You were in the best camp in the country to begin with. We did win the thing, so that showed that. It was just a matter of you having to accept the fact that, oh, damn, I'm not the number one guy. But knowing when you go into your college situations, you're going to have to battle too. And I think that's where your dad was excellent at raising you on the court, so to speak, let alone as a father, was, hey, it's another obstacle. What you going to do? You'll cry about it. We're going to get it done.
What are you going to do? Absolutely.
And today's parents, I'm sorry to say this, on the whole, not all, they don't do that. We're transferring. We'll go here, we go there. And high school kid plays at 3 different schools, 3 different AU programs, and now he's on his 5th college. I rest my case.
Yeah. Well, always a blast having you on the program and going down memory lane from the 5-star days with you and Ed, Coach. Best to you there in San Antonio in the portal and beyond. I'm sure we'll bump into you down the road.
Man, it's always good to see you guys. I appreciate you having me on. Tell everybody at home I said hello.
We will do that. We had one of the comments a few minutes ago from Woodrow that said, members, Milan and his athletic brothers from back in the day at Kecoughtan. So we appreciate some of the viewers out there chiming in during the show. Always a good time with you, Milan. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.
See you guys.
It's Milan Brown with us here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk. We'll take a timeout and come back with more. We got a couple more things on the way, including maybe perhaps a surprise guest or two. And, we got something from baseball, too, that we have to dig in on with Ed Young here. On this edition of 757 Saturday Sports Talk, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel with CoVA Sports TV, and we'll be back in just a moment. Stay tuned.
For any athlete, making it to the top sometimes comes with a few steps back. That's why parents count on CHKD Sports Medicine, advanced diagnostics, treatment, and rehabilitation for sports injuries, just for young athletes like yours. With convenient locations across Hampton roads and a whole team of experts here to keep your favorite player at the top of their game. CHKD Sports Medicine. Learn more at chkd.org or call the CHKD Sports Injury Hotline.
CoVA Painting. We don't just paint, we transform spaces. Visit covapainting.com or call 757-550-7357 and mention the Sportsplex for 10% off of projects over $1,000.
What's up at DQ? Oh, just the best deal ever! The $7 bacon cheeseburger meal deal. Bacon cheeseburger for a limited time, plus fries, drink, and a sundae. Yeah, this is not the time to be modest. It's all full size for just $7. And there's bacon on that burger. The $7 bacon cheeseburger meal deal. Now, for a limited time on the $7 meal deal lineup. Only at DQ. Happy tastes good.
What does happiness mean to you?
Being in the ocean with you, watching you catch super fun waves.
In Virginia Beach, happiness is breaking barriers and savoring the sunshine.
I couldn't pick a better place or a better person to be with. This is what makes me happy.
Happiness is going all out.
And taking it all in.
Here, happiness is whatever you make it. Find yours in Virginia Beach.
I grew up here. I know this town. I know the people here. More important, they know me. As a banker at Town Bank, we become part of the communities we serve. The people who bank with us, our members, know us. When you bank with Town Bank, you'll know your banker. You'll know you can reach us, and you'll know we're here for you.
James Kecoughtan tells us tonight there's a new team making new noise in the USL2 scene on the other side of the water.
Something special is brewing inside the walls of the Virginia Beach Sportsplex.
We're not here for moral victories. When we're on our day, we're a legit team.
See the stars of the future in pre-professional action at the Virginia Beach Sportsplex. This combined season ticket special is for men's and women's. That's 15 games for just $100 for adults and $80 for youth. VBU has a brand new women's team that competes in the W League. Soccer fans, it's time to rally behind Virginia Beach United. Tickets are on sale now. Visit vbunited.com. Don't miss out on Virginia Beach United.
Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Beat your team. Guess what, Coach Young? We can still be friends. They're jumping around. Let's go. Jump around. The kids are jumping around. Get up, get up, get up. Jump around. Jump around. Get up, jump around. Jump around. They're jumping for joy. They're jumping for joy. Why are they? Because guess what? The Torpedoes lose. The Torpedoes lose again.
This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Here are Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
What a night it was at Scope this week, watching some Admirals hockey and basking in the glory that was another Diamondbacks victory over the Bronx Bombers as they took 2 out of 3 up at Yankee Stadium. It is 757 Saturday Sports Talk. He's not going to look up at the screen, folks, because he doesn't want to acknowledge what took place this week. I am Matthew Hatfield. He is the birthday boy known as Coach Ed Young, who has gone from celebrating his 29th birthday an hour ago to celebrating his 49th birthday. Happy birthday, Coach Young. And we'll also show that ticker that tells you how you can donate to his cause, which is not to buy him birthday presents, cake, and all those things, but other things that will help more important people out in this world. Derek chimes in. Oh, look at Derek. Good to hear from Derek. Thank you, Derek, for tuning in. Go ahead.
Yeah, when Derek's had a night on the town, oh boy, that could have been dangerous. Lord, well, at least he didn't get arrested. He's not calling us for bail money.
No.
But yes, I do have a cause. I'm asking people to, they donate something, a few dollars, whatever, to my Cash App is up there. I am in turn going to take everything and I'm going to put $100 of my money into the special needs prom that the Mount Suffolk, Pastor Carl Wilkins and his wife, Lady Jessica, they do. This will be the 4th annual one, May 17th. Signet Center in Chesapeake. They have a prom for special needs kids in out of the 757 area here, local area, 7 cities, Carolina. And I've not been to it. I've seen if you go to www.prom757.com, you'll see it's just tremendous. You'll see some stuff from film from the last few proms, and it is tremendous. It's an unforgettable event. And, of course, the money will help sponsor the kids to get more kids there. They do a red carpet for the kids when they walk in. There's a throne that they sit on for picture taking. They have food and everything. It's just a tremendous, tremendous event. And I just wanted to do something a little different. And I don't normally celebrate my birthday. Birthdays for kids. But this was one that just kind of been on my mind a lot, that what could I do? And I thought, well, wait a minute, my birthday's come up. A lot of times people will have special charities that they want money or stuff sent to. And there's a lot of needy charities out there, people. I understand all that. I just thought this was one that's different. A lot of these kids don't have an opportunity to go to the regular high school proms for whatever reasons. Usually it's money. And this one is done for them, even the clothes and stuff. And a lot of them, the guys have the tuxes on and the girls have the gowns on. It's just a tremendous event. So you see my Cash App up there. The money is not going for Ed Young to go out and buy cake and presents for myself, whatever. I'm not that person. It's to go for me to donate that money right back to Mount Suffolk for this event. So please, whatever you can do, it would be tremendous. And I appreciate it.
So there you have it. We thank Milan Brown for coming on the show. We are hoping to connect with Rob Krimmel, St. Francis's basketball coach, who just announced his retirement, by the way, coming up here in just a bit. We have sent out I think we had the right email because the last one unfortunately bounced. So hopefully that goes to him this time.
I just got the text. Things are ever changing here. Rob, who just resigned or retired as the coach at St. Francis Loretta, looks like he can come on here at 11:15-ish.
All right, that'll work. Well, he's tell him it has been sent to the proper email because the one we sent before apparently bounced. That one worked. So apparently it didn't get copy and pasted right. Not sure if that was my fault, your fault, whoever's fault it was. That's been rectified. So there you have it. All right, so we will have him on in about 20 minutes or so. While we have 20 minutes to kill, we're not never killing time on this show. What do you make of the Snakes going to the big, to New York to take 2 out of 3 from your guys? What do you make of that? Didn't you tell in our group text that we're in with you, me, and Mike Desmond, the South Lakes back-to-back state champion coach of the Seahawks? And by the way, he did not get coach of the year in Class 6. It went to Doug Craig of C.G. Woodson. Both were deserving of that honor. The state player of the year in Class 6 for the boys went to his standout, Jordan Scott, who's headed to Michigan State. I think all the all-state teams have been released except Class 5 boys, which I think they had to do some revote. I'm not sure how that whole thing went. We'll find out how that all goes next week when it comes out. But nonetheless, What do you make of what? And didn't you tell him though in the group chat, me and Coach Desmond, that the loser had to buy a steak to the winner? And I think you're trying to dig out of this, aren't you? Because Lord knows had the Yankees swept the D-backs, we would have been called a minor league team. He'd be wanting to go to the most expensive steak place in America. I would be the bad guy. The Yanks would be great. Now he's just trying to sweep us under. Sweep
enough already.
We had the brooms out. We almost did it. We almost had the brooms out. Had a grand slam late. Had you nervous. Almost swept you. Go ahead.
Let me
sure go ahead.
Say this. The bet was Yankees D-backs. Whoever wins the series, Yankees win it. He owes me. D-backs win it. I owe him. Okay. Now what we ain't going to do is root Chris and all those.
See, I'm going to get one of those steaks. It's like $5.95. Go ahead.
Hold on. That's a steal. We're not going to those places where the complimentary water costs $3. We're not doing that.
Oh, okay. Like
so
this.
We'll go to a good one. We'll go to a good place. It won't have to be chopped liver steak. I will pay my debt. D-backs did a great job. My Yankees, I call them the Stankies when they stink. And they stunk those first two games. Thank you, Carlos Rodon. And who was the other guy who was pitching for them when they lost the other guy? I can't remember who started.
We just beat them all up.
I can't remember who it was. Max Fried pitched well. Fried pitched well.
Not against us.
Yep. And but they didn't hit, everybody talk about, the Yankees are cheating the torpedo bats. So let's put that aside.
Put it aside. Why?
The D-backs are using the torpedo bats. The problem with the D-backs is they're holding the wrong end. So, but I'm going to give your D-backs credit. I looked at the roster. I've watched the games. You got a lot of players I wish were on the Yankees. I will say it out loud. Give me Zach Gallen. I offered you a great trade in the middle of the game. I offered him 7 major league guys for Zach Gallen, and this knucklehead said no. 7.
What he's not telling you, folks, is of those 7 major leaguers that he offered me, 6 of them sit on the Yankees bench. So no, thank you. He wants to give us six reserves, 6 non-everyday players for essentially the ace of a team that can win the National League. Well, could have won the National League until the Dodgers decided to buy 15 more new players. But go ahead.
Yeah, I would say
they lost last night, so they're going to buy 15 more superstars. Get ready. Not enough superstars on their team.
The D-backs will be in the playoffs. If they're not, if they don't win that West, which I think LA is going to win it, they'll be a wild card team. Their biggest competition will be the Padres. Padres aren't bad either. But D-backs have a kind of a lineup. They got some guys who can hit the long ball, but they get key hits where they need to get key hits. And Marte is excellent. Y'all did a great job re-signing him for the next 80 years.
Thank you. I got my Marte jersey coming in the mail next week. By the way, we did our over-under picks for folks that missed a couple weeks ago, and I'll show you how we did last year. But this is this year's over-under picks. This is on the screen here. For folks that missed our MLB preview, NCAA Tournament Sweet 16 preview special we did a couple weeks ago. There it is for the over-unders, folks. Over 78.5 for the Reds for me. That's not looking good, by the way. They lost 3 straight games, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. First time since like 1960 that ever happened. Under for the Astros, over for the Athletics, under for the Mets, over for the D-backs. I won't go 5-0, but I can get to 3-2, maybe 4-1, I think. Over Royals, over Blue Jays. You got a shot there. Under on the Cubbies, I'm not so sure. Over on the Padres looks good. Under on the Rays, could be wait and see. So those are the over-under picks that we did. Now, for those that wonder, well, how did these guys do last year? These guys are just, yakking about the over-unders. Well, this is what it went last year, how it looked. The results, 3-2 for me, 4-1 for Edward. He had the Reds as an over last year. That was his one blemish. 1 on the Mets and Guards going over, 1 on the Rangers and Giants going under. I won on the Orioles and the Diamondbacks exceeding their win total. So I'm going back to Arizona the well again. Under on the Twins, which was a late finish, lost by a whisker, literally half a game on the Cubs and Yankees. So hold on. Shouldn't we do it like you do? Since I lost by 1 win and I was 3-2 and you lost by 5.5 wins and you were 4-1, shouldn't I beat you since my margin was differential?
No, it didn't make no damn sense. I beat you 4-4. I'm 4-1. You're 3-2. 4 beats 3 all the time. Don't be trying to finagle like you normally do that you come out a winner.
The new math.
You are a loser a lot of the times, except that you play that role well, know your role, know your role. People, as they say, know their role, play your role well, which you do, and we'll go from there. I'm giving you the props for Arizona, and who said I'm their favorite coach? Buck Moore. I'm his favorite coach.
One of your former assistants, yeah.
Oh, man, Buck, you're great, man. I appreciate it. Hey, Buck, I'm waiting for my birthday dinner. You owe me a birthday dinner.
He doesn't owe you anything. You owe him plenty for all the years of service he gave you in your program. What do you mean? He owes you. You owe him. You can never begin to repay Buck Moore. Go ahead.
Right. That's my problem. There's too many people that have made me look good over the years, have done great things for me, friendships. I can't pay them back. There's no way. But yeah, there are times you have done some really good things, and I probably have to say it on record out loud more so than the knucklehead stuff that you do or the things I got to get you out of trouble for, and that I can't say live like this because SWAT teams would be breaking in and knocking that piano over, coming up under the trap door underneath your table.
Don't knock the piano over. Leave the piano alone.
And the trap door that you have under the coffee table, they'd be coming through there with your hideaway underneath.
Great.
All this stuff. You're fooling the pool, which is coming up soon.
Oh, it's coming back. Woody and the gang are looking forward to it. I ran into somebody, was it last week at Mario Mullins? By the way, we got to shout out the folks, Jamar Mullen, his brother. They took care of us. They were wonderful last week at the Mario Mullen All-Star game that transpired last week with Jacoby Harper of Oscar Smith getting the MVP. The South Side, led by Jacoby Harper and Cash Jackson and David Trey Miller and company, got it done over the Peninsula squad, which got some good performances. Caleb Matthews of Kecoughtan played pretty well. Tyrell Beverly from Southampton on that team played pretty well. But South Side outlasted the Peninsula in that game. But they took care of it. They did a nice job over there for the All-Star Classic. I think someone asked me about the poolside adventures coming back last week at Bayside. I forgot who it was. I forget. If you're watching the show now, chime in and wave your hand and tell me it was you. I forget.
No, I have a lot to say in this show. Stop encouraging the fool in the pool segments. They are not good. They're scary.
They're not scary.
Young kids are it's scaring the young kids, and the women are hiding. We're not going to do it. By the way, Mario Mullen event was tremendous. God rest his soul. And they did take it. They had a nice spread. Hospitality room. But guess who ate the most and who didn't eat at all in there?
But that's because you were too busy shaking hands, kissing babies, and running for political office. By the way, I can't get the Instagram comments on the screen for some reason, but Super Eric Rogers out there says happy birthday to Coach and hello and enjoy the national semis tonight. But he's out there watching on IG. We'll have to get that rectified. I want to get the Instagram comments because we have people. I told you this before. And I'll tell you it again. Your former player from another country. I don't even know where he's playing now. Andre Jones was watching one time and chiming in from another country. We like it when people are watching from other countries too. That's great. We're number 2 in Tokyo last I was told. So,
and I also got a text from Brazil today. Dontel Bright.
Oh, did you? Wow.
Wishing the old man, old coach, happy birthday. So
from Brazil.
Yeah, and Andre's playing in Italy, still playing strong. Over 30 years old, he's playing strong in Italy. So congrats to those guys. Keep getting it done. Don Trell's been tearing up Brazil like crazy.
We're going to get on the show next week, by the way. You said Steve Lapis is committed. We're also going to get Jermaine Woods next week, who is the new women's basketball coach in Norfolk State, because he has to get introduced Monday at a press conference, but he wants to come on. So we'll talk with Jay Woods, former Granby High standout, Christopher Newport standout, who's coached at Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, Old Dominion, and most recently at Coppin State. Did a nice job there as the head coach. I think it's a home run hire, and I bet you feel the same way for Norfolk State women. To replace a guy that won 30 games in Larry Vickers, who goes to Auburn, you better not have a step down, and they obviously got a guy that can keep them and not only just maintain and sustain them, but elevate them, I think, even more.
Well, and the key thing with him is that he's graduated Norfolk State, knows the area well, but he's been in other places. So a lot of times we say, let's get the local guy because he knows the local kids. Well, at the college level, you can't just win with local kids. You're going to have to go where there's some kids at. And, of course, as we just have with Milan Brown on, assistant at the University of Pittsburgh, the portal. You got to know how to recruit the portal.
Yeah.
It ain't so much about high school kids, even with the women. Let's not forget NIL portal that goes with the women too. So I think Coach Woods will do tremendous with that. He's an extremely intense guy. I think if you're wanting to keep that program going hard, like Coach Vickers has got him, you got the right guy.
Now I'm going to ask you a tricky question, and I'm going to give you my feeling on it and see if you agree or disagree. And this is, I want people to listen to it carefully because they're going to think I'm being negative on this. Silas Barksdale made that switch I brought up on the show from VCU to UVA. I think it's more of a blow to VCU than a boom for UVA. And it's not so much, oh, you're saying he can't play. That's not what I'm saying. And they get Chance Mallory to go with him at UVA with Ryan Odom. So they got two of the top level players in the state. But I think VCU was banking on him really being an impact guy. Now, I think Phil Martelli's son, Mr. Martelli there, is going to do all right at VCU. But Barksdale would have been a real centerpiece of that recruiting class. And I think it's harder to get a guy of that ilk to come into VCU, especially from the high school level. So I think it's more of a blow than it is an immediate boom. At UVA, he's going to have to wait his time because, as Milan talked about with us, a lot of these older players are going to see the floor sooner than the freshmen. So he's got a chance to develop there and get on the court and make an impact. But I think it's more of a where had he gone to VCU, would have played earlier, and I think VCU was going to be thinking we can kind of build around him as one of the main pieces. You concur with that, or do you think I'm off based on what I just said?
No, I'm on the rails with you on that. Bart senior year, I think better. I saw him play like 4 times this year. Better than his junior year, more dominant. And I remember saying, boy, VCU got a really, really good pick in Barksdale. Now, remember, and you did say it, the portal. Mm-hmm. High school kids are not the main draw anymore, especially the higher up you go up the ladder. I ain't saying anything people don't know. Milan even said it. They're bringing in 1 or 2 guys, high school level. They're really looking at the portal. That's ACC level. Barksdale was not, and if I'm wrong, I know I'll get corrected by the right people. He was not recruited heavy by UVA. He was not. UVA wasn't a selection for him. I don't
think
remember.
His final 3 was, now I might be wrong. I want to say his final 3 was Miami, Butler, and VCU. They were not in his final. Correct.
So therefore, now if he picks VCU over UVA, UVA is distraught they didn't get him. Right. Yes. So I think he would be a bigger piece at VCU. VCU's a little bit. I got to be careful, my VCU friends out there. Is a little bit below UVA on the food chain of college basketball. But ACC against Atlantic 10, I still think ACC is better basketball. But VCU, hey, they were in the tournament this year. Where was UVA? And that's what the VCU people can say to me, and that's all you need to say.
Yeah.
But, yes, and now at UVA, if Coach Odom, who will know Barksdale because he recruited him for VCU, so there's a comfort zone there. And I don't think Odom would bring him in if he knew there's no way you're going to play UVA. He just leave him at VCU because he'd be doing a disservice for the kid. And Odom's not that type, and he knows he's got other players. But UVA has to do well, extremely well in the portal, and get moving about it because and the whole ACC needs to do it. We heard that nationally. His chances of playing UVA, I think, are a little slower. Not that he can't. He'd come in there and blow everybody out of the water and play 25 minutes a game next year as a freshman. Who knows? But I just think at VCU, that opportunity would have been quicker. That's all I'm saying. Neither one of us is saying he's not any good.
Right.
It's just in terms of where you're at. That's common sense, to be honest with you. And I hope he does great at UVA and be a local kid at one of our state schools. I hope that would be tremendous for him to be able to do that.
All right, you see it down being shared before we go to break and bring in Rob Krimmel, retiring men's basketball coach at St. Francis. You see the CoVA Sports 757 Sports Talk group standings on the ESPN picks. Remember, $100 Outback gift certificate is on the line for the first place winner. Right now, it looks like it's going to be Z Elo Rankings and Z Lichat Model, or Model. I'm not sure how that is pronounced. Is on top of Julian's picks. I'm not sure that's our man Julian Brown or not. The Answer Key X, Harrison Montague's got Florida. Look at this. It's going to come down to who wins this thing, I think, to decide it, whether it's Houston, Duke, Auburn, or Florida. And we got someone from all 4 schools in the top 5 leaderboard. Nikki Z is tied up there. Vodzillo. I don't see Ed Young's. Wait, is that you, number 7 there? 1100? Is that you? I think it is. I don't think you can make it. You can't get it there.
That's not me.
Yeah, I'm going to say you're a dead man.
I don't. No, none of I might have dropped a page too.
But you know what? If Duke is to win, you possibly could get 3rd place, which gets you a Virginia Preps Classic T-shirt. 2nd place gets you $50 gift certificate. So, yeah, you got a shot for a Virginia Preps T-shirt.
I was hoping to get number one, so I get that $100 Outback, so that then I can pay my bet off with you.
Oh, that's what you were trying to do. Well, you better hope you can convince someone. That was your
maybe
plan.
whoever wins it will take us to Outback with them.
I doubt it. Why? They don't like us that much. They don't like us that much.
We got to find out who that is. We don't even know who half these people are because they didn't put their real names up.
All right, coming up next, Rob Krimmel will stop by to talk about St. Francis, the Final Four, his retirement, and more. It's all coming your way here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk, powered by CoVA Sports TV. But a quick word from those that make it possible. Stay tuned.
What is more? Is it more reps, more strength, more stamina? We say it's all of that, but it's greater than just what's in the mirror. It's about improving your mental and physical health. More is a feeling of achievement, fulfillment, confidence. It's looking better, feeling better, being better, and it's our mission to get you there. Because here, you are more. One Life Fitness.
As a banker at Town Bank, we believe that people bank with people, not with banks. You're looking for an actual personal relationship, and that's what you get at our bank. You get that person that gets to know you, gets to know your business, is there for you. I think that is what motivates us, what drives us, and the idea that we are trying to serve others and enrich lives, I think is very true.
What makes a life a good one? Is it our adventures? Or the friends we find along the way? Is it the challenges we conquer together? Maybe it's the people's lives we touch every single day. So, what makes a life a good one? You'll have to figure that one out for yourself.
Well, it's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that infernal revenue service. And if you're like me, you need help. Help to keep that donation as small as possible. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service. 455-6763.
Portco is your local nonprofit organization dedicated to economic empowerment through employment for people with disabilities. We focus on abilities, not limitations, providing on-the-job vocational support. Find your pathway to employment. Contact us or learn more at portco.org.
I'm Dr. Mark Cardelia, orthopedic surgeon and surgical director of the CHKD Sports Medicine Program. We see a lot of knee injuries in student athletes these days, and many of these are ACL tears. Parents often ask how to know when a knee injury may be serious. The most obvious symptom is severe pain or swelling in the knee joint. Your child may have heard a pop when the injury occurred. Look for signs they can't put weight on the knee around 48 hours after the injury, or if the knee feels unstable or wobbly. Those are all signs you should see a CHKD sports medicine specialist. Our sports medicine physicians, surgeons, athletic trainers, and physical therapists understand the needs of growing athletes and tailor treatment to fit each child's age and level of activity. Our goal is to accurately diagnose the problem in a timely fashion and provide the treatment that will ensure a safe return to activity. Kids want to play, and we want to help them get back in the game. To learn more, visit chkd.org. Sports medicine at CHKD. We're more than a hospital.
Hampton Roads has a long-running high school and college sports tradition. It's time to give them the spotlight they deserve. This is 757 Sports Talk.
Usually it's Hatfield. That's why I try to tell everybody, get on Hatfield. He is the legal scribe, the talking head that knows all this, puts the whammies on up, We do things different on this podcast. That's why we're rated number 3 in the state.
You got Play-Doh? Get out of here! We got people all over the globe watching with us. Sitting in a phone booth with you would be very...
well, no, we got to have your own phone booth. I'm not sitting in a phone booth with you.
It is 757 Saturday Sports Talk here on CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe.
You know, off the field, I still think the industry of college athletics is a disaster. It just is. Between the lines, I think it's great. During this month of April, not our decision as coaches, not our decision at Kansas State, but the industry-wide decision because of the House settlement, because of different legality things and litigation. We got to remove a lot of kids from the program, and it sucks. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of kids that want to be here, want to stay here, that we can't have in the program, and kids that are paying their way, kids that have put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this place, kids that are invested academically, and now those kids got to make a choice. And it's frustrating to me because I don't understand why the number came of 105. Why didn't we kind of slowly bring it down? And I don't even know who decided it, but as a lot of us coaches talk about it, we're not in those meetings. We're not in the rooms. The practitioners, the guys that have their boots on the ground every day, aren't in the meetings that decide some of these things. I'm sure it happens in other sports as well, but in football in particular. But make no mistake, I'm not in favor of this at all. We got a lot of kids that want to be in the program that are not going to be able to be in the program. Then we have the transfer portal also happening in the month of April. And there's some positive to that with kids that maybe are not going to make your 105 that have the opportunity to go on and play somewhere. I think that's great. The negative, which you guys all know and can assume, is our best players are getting contacted every day right now. And it may be not them in particular, but it's going to be their agent saying, hey, we're looking for this position. We lost somebody in spring ball. We're looking for that position. We lost somebody in spring ball. Or we have some excess money we've got to dump. Let's go get this kid. And so this month of April is going to be craziness. And I want to make sure that we get our football stuff done, but also realize what happens if you lose a kid in spring ball. Well, now you got to make a decision on that kid. Because if he's not going to be a part of your 105, is there an injured reserve? Have you guys found that out? I don't know. Is there a practice squad? I don't know. I don't think any of those things have been talked about, or if they have, we don't know about them as coaches, but we're not in any of those meetings. And so a lot of us are in the industry are really frustrated because a lot of these decisions are made without our input.
Hampton Roads has a long-running high school and college sports tradition. It's time to give them the spotlight they deserve. This is 757 Sports Talk. Here are Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
And welcome back to the program here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on CoVA Sports TV. You just heard from the head football coach at Kansas State. We had on Milan Brent earlier on the program, and we're now joined by a special guest. Eddie helped St. Francis reached the NCAA Tournament this year, part of their first four experience, and retiring as coach. We understand we say hello and good morning to on this Final Four Saturday. Rob Krimmel with us here on the program. Coach, thank you so much for making some time for us knuckleheads this morning. How's life treating you?
Man, it's great, and it's even better seeing Coach Young in a Yankees jersey. That is awesome. Aaron Judge off to a great start.
Oh, no.
The Bronx Bombers going crazy to start the year. I love it. It's awesome.
Now, wait a minute, Rob. First of all, thanks for coming on. You're a Yankee fan?
Absolutely. My days of Don Mattingly, and it's before they started winning the World Series, Coach. Don Mattingly, I probably somewhere in a closet in my house have over probably 700 Don Mattingly baseball cards, and I've corrupted at least one of my sons. He's a big Yankees fan also, and my first trip to the Bronx was in 1985 with Mike Biviano. The Biviano family was my little league baseball coach, and they were huge Yankee fans. And if I would have known, I would have put my Yankee shirt on. I've known you a long time, Coach Young, and we have another mutual like basketball. Now the Yankees.
I can't believe I didn't know that you're a
I've
Yankee
been
fan.
hoodwinked.
Yeah, see, this Joker over here, you can see he's got his minor league D-back jersey on.
Don't do that.
Asking in the glory that they beat us twice, and I got to owe him big steak dinner now.
You got to buy me a steak. Yeah,
I got to get him one. But I didn't know you were a Yankee fan. We got history. We got a whole lot of history with Rob. Believe it or not, Matt, I coached against this dude he was a player in high school.
Wow.
And then when I was at Quinnipiac as assistant, he was at St. Francis assistant.
Okay.
So it's continued. Our relationship has continued on. And I'm thrilled to have you, Rob. I know some different circumstances to have you on, but dude, I've respected for years and years. I hated coaching against you because this sucker could play, Matt. Hit the three, play the D, smart as hell. And then he was one of those guys, when he would hit a shot, he'd walk by the bench. Now, instead of, this kind of point at you, he'd look at me and go, just something a little snidey. I said, I'm going to get that sucker one of these days somehow, some way. But he was a hell of a player, and he's done a job as a hell of a coach. And I wanted to get you on, Rob, because what has happened at St. Francis. You guys did make the tournament, first time in 39 years. And for people who don't know, you tell us, where is St. Francis University?
We'll start with the actual town, and then we'll do the geographical description. Loretto, Pennsylvania. And if you've traveled on 22, it's halfway between State College in Pittsburgh, right past Altoona, between Johnstown and a little bit past Evansburg, PA. So Western PA folk or anybody headed west would have passed the Loretto exit. And if you had blinked or taken a quick cat nap, you would have missed both or maybe three opportunities to get off into the beautiful part of the country that is Loretto, PA. But my first trek up there, growing up in State College, and thinking that the college experience was supposed to be about 100,000 people in a football stadium and a college town, I ended up choosing one of the smallest schools in the country and anything but a college town. But it's been a great journey up in Loretto, and certainly thankful for the great people that make up St. Francis that invited me there and allowed me to grow up as a student athlete, as a young professional, a father, husband, and as a head coach.
I want to jump here for a second before Ed goes on with you about what's taking place there, and we'll talk about the Final Four with you as well. Home Marie Stokes as Gene Jones chimes in. Your game in the first four, Coach, after winning the NEC with Alabama State, I know you fell short in that game 70-68, though. It was one of the best games of this tournament. I know there's been a lot of talk about the chalk and not many Cinderellas and all the ones getting here, but that to me was one of the 5-10 best games. I know you came out in the losing end, but you had to be so proud of just the way your guys competed down the stretch in the season. And in that game, even after losing the lead, had a chance to win it late.
Yeah, we played well, and give Alabama State credit, but we couldn't take care of the basketball. They got 22 more shots than we did. They out-rebounded us, and in spite of all that, we had the ball with 10 seconds left and a chance to win it. And I like those chances. In a game late in the year like that, most games are going to be pretty close. They're going to be tight, and it's one or two possessions, and we had a chance. And even had a chance to keep it tied and head to overtime, and a great play by Alabama State and their kids to execute a play and win the game. But what a way to start March Madness! A game that went down to the wire and more or less a buzzer beater to win the game. So, yeah, came up on a short end, and but for our guys to experience that, and I think the people there that were maybe waiting for this North Carolina San Diego State game got a pretty good appetizer, if you will, and a great start to March Madness.
They sure did, Ed. That was a heck of a game.
Well, yeah, and your kids, you guys did nothing to make a shame of what you did or why you were there. It was a tremendous game, and credits to Alabama State making that last play that, they had to get it, and boom, They did a Hail Mary, and Washington, Chicago Bear football game, flashback, except a touchdown, they were able to get a bucket.
Or Leitner Hill, yeah.
Yeah, it was tough. But and knowing you, it was no surprise to me, and for the people, again, that don't know, I said earlier, Rob played at State College, Penn State, where Penn State University is located. He played at State College High School. If I'm not mistaken, Mike Fergus was your head coach?
Correct. Yep. That's right.
Matt, for comparison's sake, think of Dwight Robinson, Lansdowne.
Okay.
Mike Fergus State College. Same type of mentality. Coach, tough nose guy, newest stuff, hard to go against. And Rob is one of those self-made players. We just had Milan Brown, the assistant coach at University of Pittsburgh, who's played at Kecoughtan High School. Rob, same type of player. You guys in high school coached against both of you, and you guys.
Except Rob, he didn't cut you from bench you from 5-star like you did Milan, so that didn't happen.
Well, yeah, I played Milan in the first and third quarters instead of the second and fourth, and his dad was not too happy about that because at 5-star, second and fourth got all the glory.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
he went on to play college ball, and then he's done a tremendous job since college coach, similar to what you've done too. But and then Rob went on to, as I said, at St. Francis as assistant, and then of course we got the head coaching job. Now the offshoot of all that, and one of the main reasons I wanted to get you on, not just to honor what you have done. A few weeks after that situation, while you're out recruiting and trying to keep your players, a bomb was dropped. And St. Francis administration decided to go all Division III in athletics the year after next. And from what I understand, and you're going to fill this in because I hate to talk about stuff I don't know what I'm doing, nobody really knew about it in terms of the coaches. And you were not privy to it at first. No, what do you think? Let's take 5-year draw. But it was, hey, after next year we're going D3. And I think, and again, I want you to explain it all. A lot of it had to do with what we've been talking about with every guest we get on here: NIL money, pay for play money. St. Francis, which is in the middle of Loretta, and if y'all missed what Rob said earlier, let me explain it. It's like putting a university in the Dismal Swamp, which is right over here between Suffolk and Chesapeake, Rob, in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Because I coached at Mount Aloysius, which was in Crescent. We were your next door neighbor. Put those two towns together, you would have probably 2 blocks of Norfolk, Virginia. That's how big those two places put together were. But St. Francis has made the decision to drop to D3. And then another decision was made soon after that, your decision to retire, step down. So that's a lot to decipher, Rob. And I would like for you to go ahead and take the floor and talk about both those situations.
All right, he's having some audio issues. He's having trouble hearing you for some reason, Ed.
Yeah, we can't hear him either.
No, we're having some audio technical difficulties. So we'll see if we can get that ironed out here with Rob to get him back on the show. I'm not sure if it's on his end or ours, but I've got you fine. We'll see if he can catch us here in a moment here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk, powered by CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channels. We're talking with Rob Krimmel. He's the outgoing basketball coach at St. Francis, who's telling us he's having some audio issues hearing us. So we'll see if we can get him back on. I think he's going to try to reconnect in just a moment. But I was, while you were asking your question or going through the setup, he was doing some motioning with the hands. I could tell he was having some difficulties. I don't know if it just popped out on his end or if it was something we've got on our end. So we'll see if, we've got audio is working fine on our end. I know that end. So it might be on his issue. I just double checked it and tested it on another line. So let's see if we got Coach back on with us. We'll see if he is back with us and he can hear us good. Coach, you got us now on the show here. Can you hear us?
Yep, I got you.
So apologize about that. Ed was setting up the whole thing there as far as the sequence of events. You led them to the NCAA tournament. And just to basically quickly reset it, the bomb was dropped. You guys suddenly, or the program, I should say, suddenly dropping down from the Division I ranks to Division III. Take us through that whole process if you can, and I guess how big of a shock to the system was it for you and those involved?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that, right now I'm not permitted to have too much dialogue regarding the transition. They're asking that all that communication go through the president's office. But I can't tell you that, the moment for our student athletes on campus created, obviously when there's change. I think we've all been through change in our life and the circumstances of whether it's sudden change or gradual change. It's, never easy to, never easy to handle. And I think it's one of the great things that, sport, especially in basketball, you got to change pretty quickly. In college athletics in particular, change is a part of life. And for me, deciding to retire from coaching wasn't solely based on that decision. This is something that had been a slow build for me over the course of the last couple of years as I've looked to try to become the best father possible. I have a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old, and I just saw my 13-year-old off to his first travel basketball tournament, and my parents were nice enough to take him out to Monroeville because we had committed to a fundraiser for my oldest son's basketball team months back before the basketball tournament schedule was put out. And the opportunity, I think, between 13 and 18 as a father, the opportunity to help my kids and help them achieve their goals and dreams, as it got closer and closer to that junior high school age, it became harder and harder for me to be physically present. As you know, Coach Young, the travel that's involved, especially at this level where you're on a lot of buses and you're, and you're in and out of a lot of different hotels, and then also the emotional fatigue that's a part of it. There's been a lot of changes in college athletics with the portal and name, image, and likeness, and so just the emotional roller coaster that you go on throughout a regular college basketball season, but then you're worried about the person that you had on the show or that you were broadcasting. I think it was the Kansas State football coach. You're working through situations where in the middle of the year, kids are talking to agents, and those agents don't care about me as a coach or the players in their quest for a championship. And so it had been one of those things, the slow build for me to decide to retire from coaching. The transition had a part in it. The part that it had was I knew when the announcement was made that we'd be staring down the barrel of probably having to replace 13 scholarship kids because of the portal. And I expected that 13 would go in, and I think 12 of the 13 ended up going into the portal. And trying to do a quick glimpse into the future for me personally on what that would look like. And knowing that I have 2 kids in track, 2 different teams, 2 kids playing travel basketball, 2 different teams. And because of what I had mentioned previously about the slow build of, wanting to be more present for my kids, I've told every recruit coach that walked into my office, every recruit and every parent, that there would be 2 things that would get me out of that chair if they fired me. And the easy response to that one was, if I get you as a player, I don't have to worry about that, because if we have good people and good players, we're going to win games. And the second thing was if my family took a back seat to my job. And, ultimately the priority as a father and the slow build really to get me to that point led me to make that decision to take a step away and, and allow someone else to transition St. Francis into a new era. And into a new era for 1 year of Division I and then into the Division III world, because it was time for me to be a dad. And in that transition, I think in many ways for people not knowing college athletics, they might think it's easy to go from Division I or Division III or but any transition, whether you're going from Division II to Division I or Division I to Division III, there's going to be a time frame that it's going to take just to get used to the new level of basketball or the new style of recruiting or whatever it is. And so I had to do another quick glimpse 3 or 4 years down the road and say, I gotta be a dad. I gotta be present as a father. And, the timing wasn't great. But I had been open about my plans and my purpose with, if my family did take a backseat to my job, I was gonna pass the keys to someone else, and very fortunate to pass it to someone like Luke McConnell, whose father was my college coach, and my second son is named in part after him. To see him grow up and be a GA to a operations to assistant to associate, and now the head coach at St. Francis, the program is in great hands. He's the person that can pour his heart into the players and the alumni and the fans to put the best possible product out there. And then he's the person to transition it into the next wave and the next part of St. Francis basketball history. And there's such a tradition there that I know you're familiar with, Coach, and the great players that that wore the uniform all the way back to Maurice Stokes, and then Porter and Van Leer, the golden era of St. Francis basketball, and then the 91 team with Mike Isolino, an Altoona native, Joe Anderson and head coach Jim Barron, and they set the standard for modern success by going to the NCAA tournament. And one of the cool things that we did when we designed our championship rings, on the inside, we put 1991 and 2025 as a way to remember that 91 team and thank them for setting the standard. It just took us 34 years to get back to that moment. And, certainly bittersweet because we're coming off the emotion of a championship and the NCAA tournament and, the emotion and the excitement, as I've said in the last couple of, text messages and communications, it's been a roller coaster. But the one thing, and I'm sorry guys for going on so long, but the one thing that keeps a smile on my face, the opportunity that I had to build so many great relationships and meet so many great people like you, Coach Young. I mean, people that, if not for basketball, and if not for St. Francis, and I know you and I go back to District 6 in Altoona and State College, but that's what made the place so special. The game afforded me that opportunity to be around a lot of really, really cool people in Loretto, but to meet a lot of great people outside that have left such an impact on me as a coach, but have left impacts on their schools and their communities. And although the struggle and the roller coaster is real, I am so excited to be a dad. I'm so excited to focus on the two kids that God entrusted to me and gave me to help raise, and be thankful for what I had as a basketball coach and to be able to coach my alma mater and to do those things. So yeah, I mean it's been a crazy couple of days, in a week now, and I know that Luke has got the program in great hands, and but just has given me a lot of time to be thankful, Coach, for people like you and the opportunity that I had to coach such a great game. So kind of a long answer to your question, but it's in terms of the process, I'm not, I wasn't involved in that, so I really can't comment on it. And they're just asking right now to keep things consistent coming out of the president's office, and out of respect for Father Malachi and the people that made that decision. It's certainly a challenging time for all, for alums, for fans, for people that wore the uniform and people that went to school there. And, just like I'm putting it in God's hands to trust that he's going to lead me in my next phase and my next journey, I'm sure that that's what the powers that be at St. Francis are doing as well. So, been a crazy couple of days, but man, I'm looking forward to going to some track meets and some basketball games.
Well, Rob, and I feel you what you're saying, and it's heartfelt. I mean, you're being a dad. And a lot of guys in the business take the other option. They drive. Some get divorced. Some grow up. The kids grow up not knowing their dad that much. Dad, all of a sudden, their kid is in college. He missed their whole high school career. It's tough what you're going through. And I know I'm going to respect the fact, too, that you can't really say a whole lot about the move because of you've been asked not to, obviously, and whatever. But it also shows the bigger picture, and we've talked about this with a lot of guys. The way sports are now with the NIL and all that, a school like St. Francis really has to start thinking, can we survive? Because it's all about money, because the schools can pay the kids outside of the NIL deals too that they can get. So it makes it really tough. Did we lose Rob?
Yeah, he just sent me another private note that the audio went out on his end, hearing what you were saying in the middle of maybe it's when you're talking it makes it go out.
Maybe I need to shut up.
Yeah, stop talking. We got him back though. I think we do have Rob back with us. You back with us, Rob?
I'm back. Sorry.
No, we figured out what the problem was. Is when Ed keeps rambling on, your audio goes out. So we got to get him to stop rambling. So
I got to stop. So all I'm saying though, I'll condense it back, Rob. And I know you can't talk a whole lot about the move officially and all that from 1 to 3, but it does show the issue that I think other schools, other colleges similar to St. Francis, are going to have to really think about some things in terms of it's all about paying out players now. The schools can pay players as well as the NIL. The NIL, see, a lot of people aren't getting this. NIL, and you correct me if I'm wrong, NIL is money outside the program that kids can get for use of image and likeness. Pay for play is something the schools have money that is allocated towards athletes. And that's not just basketball, football kids, Division I. It would be money really for the whole programs. And a place like St. Francis, who saying like back in the 50s and 60s, Maurice Stokes was there. St. Francis was an Eastern powerhouse in basketball. Right. Things have changed greatly over here. Nothing about you guys now. Yeah, Maurice Stokes played Norman Lear, Kevin Porter. But it's about money. And if they don't have it, how do you keep staying there?
Yeah, that's, the landscape is really, I think, going to start to take shape on what Division I truly is like once revenue sharing kicks in. And that's, as you mentioned, that's when schools can pay the athletes directly. And you're going to have one choice. All right, it's two choices, but it's, one question: are you in or are you out? Are you going to opt in? If you opt in, there's a certain set of rules. If you don't opt in, there's a different set of rules. And so it's going to create, I think, a natural break. But as you know, Coach, I think that's been around as, not since the 50s when there was a lot more, St. Francis and maybe, Duquesne or Villanova, there was a little bit more of an even playing field. But, really since the mid to late 90s into the 2000s, the separation between the Power Five or then now the Power Four and schools at the low and mid-major level, there was a distinct separation. My brother played at Penn State, and they did a lot of different things than I did at St. Francis in their travel and what they ate, and what they had access to. And so there's always been a separation. The new separation will be that money that's available to institutions to pay their players directly. And then on top of that, you have the name, image, and likeness. And so there's going to be different streams of revenue for these kids. And it's just amazing how quickly we're talking about change, how quickly all of this stuff came about. I mean, the Ed O'Bannon case back with, the video games and, then it was talked about because guys couldn't afford pizzas and couldn't go to the movies and to where it was, just going to be the big boys that show up at Beaver Stadium or down at Alabama, or the quarterback or the running back making the big money. And now you have, kids down, all the way at our level that are making tens of thousands of dollars. And so I think the term name, image, and likeness probably needs to be changed, because that was the initial term. And here's the thing, is that, third string running back at Alabama making Alabama a ton of money? I mean, I'm not in the weeds really to know all that. Or is the starting two guard at pick a school at our level, is he making the institution money? And the answer to that is probably not, unless you get to the NCAA tournament. So, I think the real understanding is going to come in a couple of years once the revenue sharing and the big boys start to figure things out, and then everybody else will have to react to it. But it's that change has come so quickly. I mean, really, we're only looking at 2 years. It's been about 2 years since this came into effect, and I think COVID had a lot to do with the rapid change, because it gave the immediate eligibility. And then all of a sudden, we said, everybody's eligible right away. Let's just, hey, let's go pay players. And I think that change, that rapid change, has impacted a lot of people at other levels too. You look at some of the long-term greats of the game that decided to step away, and maybe because of these changes and because there is a little bit of a different way to approach recruiting and to approach development. And that's been such a big part of our world. And that's one of the things, or in our world, in our program. And that's one of the things that I struggled with just philosophically, is development is at the heart of what I believe. Developing players, developing students, developing people, but then developing meaningful relationships. And I just think that that's taken a little bit of a shift here, where money has so quickly infiltrated the college ranks. And you have college kids that can do things that pros can't, and can make money that not even pros can. And so I think the system has to regulate itself a little bit, so that there is some structure, and I think that there needs to be some some changes in that world. But I'm a basketball coach. I love coaching basketball. I love I love doing the X's and O's and the scouting reports, and I'm going to miss those opportunities in locker rooms. But yeah, the changes have been, part of the reason why I'm stepping away. Not the sole reason, but just that development is what I believe in, and it was going a little bit of a different direction for me.
Chatting with Rob Krimmel. He is the outgoing head basketball coach at St. Francis, won the NEC tournament and made it to the NCAA tournament. They fell to Alabama State in the first four, who then lost to Auburn, one of the teams getting ready to play in the Final Four. Auburn takes on Florida coming up, and you have Duke playing Houston tonight in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome. Our guest here, Rob Krimmel, on 757 Saturday Sports Talk, powered by CoVA Sports TV. Coach, give me your thought on the matchups, because obviously Auburn, Florida, you and your staff had a whole bunch of things, detailed scouting report on what Auburn can and can't do. What do you think of this SEC showdown with the Tigers and Gators? And it feels like, people say this team's the favorite, this team's not. Technically, by the odds makers, Auburn's the fourth on the board, but my goodness, they were the best team in college basketball for really the bulk of the season, weren't they?
Yeah, it's when you prepare for the NCAA tournament like that, and it was my first time doing it, so we had a plan in place. But man, I'm watching Auburn and I'm thinking, holy cow, if we get past Alabama State, I hope we can score 10 points in the first half because of, how long and how athletic and how skilled they are. And obviously Coach Pearl having his team playing at a high level all year, and the consistency, that they played with, and obviously the three other teams that are in it. But, the way that they play, how hard they play. And when you have a player like Broom, you have that superstar like Broom that you can get the ball to, and, he can score it around the basket, obviously, and then he's developed that ability to step away from the basket. And I think so much too has been made about the transfer portal, and it's bad, and and there are some bad sides to it. But here's a young man that started at Morehead State. He started more or less at the level that around the level that a St. Francis is like, and he developed, and give the coaches at Morehead State a lot of credit for finding a player like that, and then him moving on to Auburn and putting them in a position to win a national championship. And I love reading stories about him. It just the type of player that he is on the court. We all see that. We all can watch his production and understand that obviously a first-team All-American and one of the best players in the country, but just how he conducts himself off the court. I love to hear the stories of how carefree he is and what a great teammate he is. And I think I just read a story the other day that, one of his closest friends is the Pettiford kid from the freshman, the kid from Jersey. Those are the things that you don't always see if you're just watching the game, and the talent. And then, Florida and what they've been able to do in just, go 3 years as a head coach at Florida to get them back to the national championship. I mean, him and his staff have certainly got to be commended for the work that they've done. And a lot has been said about the SEC and the strength of that conference, and to have two teams in the Final Four is impressive. And then the other side of it with Duke and Houston, those two teams in particular have really played well the last 6 to 8 weeks of the year. And a couple of our assistant coaches headed down to San Antonio, and by far, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but San Antonio is the best venue for a Final Four. The weather, the river walk, you can walk to the stadium. It's a beautiful place for the Final Four. To have four fan bases like that converge on the river walk, I can't imagine the atmosphere that it is like, that's like down there. Now, 2008 was one of the last times I think 4 number 1 seeds were in the tournament, and it was in San Antonio. And I remember being there and just the energy and the passion that's a part of the Riverwalk in San Antonio, the Final Four, and 4 big-time programs. It's going to be an exciting couple of days down there. And, Duke, I think, if you're asking me, who the matchups, I mean, it's, I really like Duke and the way that they're playing right now, and both sides of the basketball. I mean, they're so long and they're so athletic defensively that they create havoc, and they have kids that can switch and play multiple positions. And then a lot like Auburn, when you have a go-to guy like Cooper Flagg to be able to score the ball and get others involved, it's it's going to be an exciting couple of games. And my uncle went to Duke. I went to Duke's basketball camp when I was in 9th grade. I've always been a big fan of Coach Krzyzewski and his teams. So I'd be betting against my family. My uncle was a tight end back in the late 60s. I'd be betting against my family if I said anybody but Duke. And I know my cousins, would find out if I said anything but that. But I do like the way they're playing. And, Houston, and the way that, Coach Sampson has his kids year in and year out playing defensively the way that they play and being in a position to make Final Fours, and the run that he's had there. a lot of really, really good stories and a lot of really, really good basketball.
Yeah, I think you can go pretty much any one of the four ways. Last one for me, I'll let Ed finish up with here, Coach. As you look at this tournament in general and where the sport is headed, people have talked about not having enough Cinderellas and things like that. I feel like it's more of a blip. I do think there's going to be some instances where we do have this happen because a lot of the heavyweights have more of the talent that have come forward. But I think it's more of a case of these have been only the four strongest, most consistent teams all year. And we should also at that time celebrate their greatness for these four teams in Houston, Florida, Auburn, and Duke. They got 1 seeds for a reason. And it's not like they were just given an easy path there. There was some struggle for some teams to get here. What's your feeling of it, big picture beyond this tournament? Will this have an effect? Will we see this every year? Will we see some more teams like the VCUs, the George Masons make this Cinderella run to a Final Four?
Yeah, I think it'll go back. That's a great question, Matt, because I think it's going to go back to the whole revenue sharing thing. Because some of these bigger schools that also have football involved with them, again, you're going to have to share that revenue. It's not just all for basketball, and it's not just all for football. You have other sports in there. Penn State's got their wrestling program is fantastic, and then obviously, the UConn and South Carolina are in the national championship for the women's side. So there's a lot of really good sports. Not just basketball, not just football, male and female that, dominate different campuses. So I think as this revenue sharing comes out and you're going to see what schools are going to allocate the most money to basketball, what schools are going to allocate the most money to football, are they going to be able to share it? And so those schools that maybe don't have, the big time football, can they work their way in? And you mentioned VCU. Can a VCU or a school in the Atlantic 10, can they work their way into a situation where right now money talks? And if you have the money and the resources and the infrastructure, you can compete, and you can compete pretty quickly. So I think, I think it is just one of those years where, like 2008, you had 4 number 1 seeds, but no one was, going crazy about, we got 4 number 1 seeds. It's always going to be this way, right? I think it's just because of the change that I mentioned. Everybody's pointing to the portal and name, image, and likeness, and you're right. And I think that's why you see some of these high majors, are a lot older, and the upsets can't happen because back in the day it was you had an older mid-major team, and maybe you had some young pups at a high major level that were one and done guys. That those older guys had played together for 3 and 4 years, and they could come in and play better than them for 40 minutes and put themselves in a position to win a game or maybe win 2 or 3 games in a tournament. So I think the big thing is going to be, how is this revenue sharing going to play out, and how are schools going to divvy the money? Because right now, that's what rules the roost, is if you have the money, you can get the players.
Good point, Ed.
Rob, I know we're taking a lot of your time here, but you made a great point that nobody's really talked about. When revenue sharing kicks in and they've got big time football programs, those football programs are going to get money. I mean, you're talking about over 100 kids on scholarship for football. And I did see something to that effect about South Carolina. Don Staley, I think, was talking about something where the AD in talking was saying something about 75% of their monies will go to the football team. And then that other 25% will be spread out among all the other sports. Now, you're talking about one of the best women programs in the country, if not the best. A couple times state defending national title. And they were going to get 5% of the money. Yeah. Men's basketball was going to get like 8% of the money. And then, of course, all the other schools, whatever crumbs left over. And Don Staley says, whoa, hold on. I understand. But I have a pretty good program. We've worked for this. 5% ain't going to kick it. Now, she didn't say we're better than the men or whatever, but she was making a point. Yeah. Basically, 75% going to football. Oh, you're going to see some stuff happen.
It's a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, again, you're going to see camp ADs, alumni, like all of this stuff is unknown right now. And that's why the landscape of Division I, anybody that can profess to say they know what it's going to look like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, down the road, until the revenue sharing comes out, no one has an idea. No one has a clue. I do know the one thing, though, is messing with the men's basketball tournament, because it's just something that's all I've coached. That is the excitement and the passion for that is second to none. I'm a little biased. I'm a basketball guy, but I hope some things stay the same. I do. I hope some things don't change, and I know that there'll be some pretty interesting moments as we move ahead with this, because you're absolutely right. Now you have a program too, like UConn, where you have Coach Hurley and what he's done, and obviously the success that their women's team has had for a long time, and what Coach REM has done. It's going to put a lot of pressure on ADs and presidents, that's for sure. Because the other thing that hasn't been talked about, and it depends on who you listen. Title IX is a part of this also. I mean, there are some other things that it's not just about dollars and cents on college campuses. There's still a lot of things that need to be worked out to get this thing. I don't even know what fair is not the word, steady's not the word. I don't know what it is, but to get it all worked out, and that change is happening so quickly. And, who knows? There's still an unknown, but I think the first steadying factor will be revenue sharing. Okay, here's what everybody is doing. Are you in or are you out? And that's going to create one line. Okay, now you're in. How are you going to divvy up the money? And then when you divvy up that money, you got to have good coaches in place. There's no mistake for that. You got to have good coaches. You got to be able to coach them up, right? And I think fans are going to have to get used to just seeing kids maybe for only one year at a time, maybe 2 years. I have a ton of respect. I saw the interview, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent. I know you guys have a time, so just cut me off if you need to. But I saw an interview this morning where the young man, and I'm drawing a blank, from Auburn, that had been there 5 years and had been with Coach Pearl for 5 years. I have a team, might be my new favorite player in college basketball, because he stayed 5 years at one institution, and how he talked about Coach Pearl and just the type of person he was. That's development. Development and relationships are not short-term concepts. They're long-term. The more you're with somebody, that relationship is stronger and stronger and stronger, or has the opportunity to be stronger. And for someone to stay at an institution for 5 years, I give him a ton of credit. Because I promise you, the bond that he has with Coach Pearl and the bond he has with his university is as strong as anybody's in the country, because he was there 5 years. There was a bunch of shared experience. And he's developed, obviously, as a player. He's on a national stage. As a person, as a student, I give him a ton of credit, because he's the exception, not the norm. And I hope we see more of that here in the future. I really do.
Oh, some really good perspective and insight from Rob Krimmel. He's the outgoing head basketball coach at St. Francis, led them to an NEC championship and a trip to the NCAA tournament, and we thank him so much for coming on the program. All the best to you. I'm sure we'll get you back on here down the road. Enjoy the Final Four this weekend, and I'm sure you and Ed will be yakking now plenty about his Yankees, whether you see my D-backs or not later on in the big fall classic come October.
Next time I'm on the show, I'm going to wear my Yankee stuff. I don't care. I don't care if they're 0-162. It doesn't matter. I'm breaking out all my Yankee stuff. I love it, Coach. More respect for you now than I had before the show.
We got to have to hook up in Baltimore when the Yankees come into town. They're coming the end of April, but they're going in September. I already got my tickets. But we got to get you back. But the last thing I want to put in here, Matt always tries to make our connection with 757. Rob had the honor. I'll quote honor, because
was this coaching one of your? I think I know who you're going to say. Is it Daniel Wallace? Was that who it was?
He coached one of my kids who was a different character.
Yes,
a different character.
Big D Wall.
Daniel Wallace played for Rob,
yeah.
And I said, Rob, I don't know if he'll drive you crazy. And by the way, let me just say this: when Rob recruited him, Rob had long flowing hair. So you see what Rob has now. I don't know if Daniel played a role in that or not. But I thank you, Rob. I thank you for doing something with Daniel.
And I'll be real quick with this one. That's why I coached. That is exactly why I coached. Daniel Wallace came in as a freshman, and now to hear from him as a professional, to see those kids as husbands, fathers, to stay with the program and to be around St. Francis. That texting him around his birthday and hearing from him and how he's doing and his family. That's why I coach, to see those kids come in as goofy freshmen with maybe a few things that they needed to work on, and hope that we could plant maybe 1 seed or 2 seeds, so that when they went to the next phase of their life, they were better because they were with us. And that's a great name, and I'm glad he was a part of my basketball journey, because I'm a better husband, a better father, and I was a better coach for having coached Daniel Wallace. So thank you for entrusting him to us. And making him a part of my journey, because I think my head was shaved at that point. maybe just I lost a few more, but he was a blessing, and it's great to see what he's doing right now in his life.
Well, and with me, when he at one of our camps, Matt remembers this, he was dunking. The kids wanted him to dunk at my camp.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm in the cafeteria, and the kids come running out, screaming, "What the heck's going on?" One of the counselors come out and said, "Coach, I want you to be calm." I said, "What's going on?"
Well, good luck with that.
Daniel just shattered the backboard dunking. I thought they were joking. I walk in the gym, glass all over the place. I go berserk because I'm thinking the kids had glass in their face. Somebody's cut up. I'm getting sued. I'm done. I'm going to jail. Where's Daniel? I'm ready to chase him down the street out the thing. He was hiding because he knew I was going to go off. The camp was messed up. I could not believe it. I said, "Why? What was he doing? Gorilla dunking? What were you?" I just thought I lost it. Everybody else is laughing. And I'm going, crazy, thinking I'm going to get sued and whatever. And then when you started recruiting him, I said, "Oh my God, go to St. Francis and dunks and shatters a backboard." And Rob gives me, I see on the phone, Krimmel's calling me. He'll never take one of my kids again. And I want, and the serious part side of that was, and I know we got to get out of this, I wanted some kids to play for Rob because I know what he stands for. If you don't know what Rob Krimmel stands for after watching this interview, then you're deaf and dumb, because you're a man of character, a man of passion, family man. You bring that into your players. I said, this is where I want. I try to do that at my level. And I want my kids to move on and play for coaches of that nature, so there's more to it after, instead of just about money or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was blessed to have you recruit one of mine. When I do see Daniel, he speaks highly of you. He just says, "Coach, St. Francis is in the middle of nowhere." I said, "Daniel, I'm from the area. I already know." He said, "Man, but he said, even the bugs, there's not many bugs around here in the middle of nowhere." But anyways, that was my story for Daniel. And Rob, we definitely will get you back on again.
Sure. Sounds great. Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, Coach. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll talk down the road.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
It's Rob Krimmel, our guest here from St. Francis, head basketball coach there. We'll come back and put the finishing touches on this episode on this particular Saturday in April. Ed Young's 29th, 49th, 59th, 12th. I don't know what birthday. It's a birthday for him that may never end.
There are days I feel like I'm 93. I got to look up and see what my real birth date is. I have to see. Somebody said they saw it was 1917 I was born. I'm like, if I was born in 1970 and I'm still living, I found out.
Getting you confused with the other Ed Young. But we'll come back and close it out with our picks for tonight and Monday right here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk, powered by CoVA Sports TV. Come back and finish it up right here. Stay tuned.
Did you know that the minimum limits in Virginia are $30,000? $30,000 is a lot of money on an individual basis, but if you're involved in a personal injury matter, that's not enough. Here at Williams-Deloitte, we're happy to provide a consultation on the amount of coverage you have in your vehicle. It can be confusing. Not many people understand it. You know you need to have it, but do you have enough? Give us a call today at 757-547-5555 so we can help you prepare in the case of an automobile accident or any other personal injury matter that you or your family may find yourself in.
For any athlete, making it to the top sometimes comes with a few steps back. That's why there's CHKD Sports Medicine. Advanced diagnostics, treatment, and rehabilitation for sports injuries, just for young athletes like yours.
What's up at DQ? Oh, just the best deal ever. The $7 bacon cheeseburger meal deal. Bacon cheeseburger, fries, drink, and a sundae. No time to be modest. It's all full size for just $7. Right now at DQ. Happy tastes good.
Welcome back to 757 Sports Talk. No, it's not in the pool. It's Hatfield and Young at the Plex, the Virginia Beach Sportsplex. Here are two guys that, even though they never shut up, they're always dropping pearls of wisdom. Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
All right, we thank our guest this morning from Rob Krimmel of St. Francis, Milan Brown of Pittsburgh. He had a Kecoughtan High School in Hampton. All of you for interacting and tuning in with us here on this edition of the show. All right, Ed, as we get ready to sign off here, your picks for tonight: Auburn, Florida, Duke, Houston, your point spreads, in case you are wondering, which I know you are wondering with bated breath. At last check here, both Florida and Duke were favored. The updated odds as far as what the spread is now would disappear on me right when I wanted to go to it, wouldn't it? Yes, it would. Currently, as we sit here right now, a few hours before tip, Auburn is a 2.5-point up against the Gators. Duke is a 5.5-point favorite against the Cougars of Houston. What do you like, and what do you think happens come Monday night?
I picked Florida earlier over Auburn. I'm going to stay with them.
Cover 2?
Pardon me?
Cover 2? Cover the spread 2? 2.5?
Yeah, I think they'll cover it. Won't be a blowout. It'll be a heavyweight title fight, back and forth. It's going to go the distance. I'm a little concerned about Broom. Is he 100% with the arm? If he is, fine, and wrap it up, whatever, cortisone shot, whatever it is to play. I hope he's at 100%. And I just think Florida has a little bit too many weapons. Won't count out Auburn if they win it. But I do think Florida, I'm going to say Florida by 5.
Okay.
I'll go Florida by 5 when it's all said and done. The other side of the bill, I'm staying with Duke. I didn't have Houston getting here. I had Tennessee winning, and now they're a problem. They're not. I don't think it'll be a runaway. But if Duke is on, similar to UConn and South Carolina women last night, if Duke is on in that manner, then it could be a 12, 14, 15-point win for Duke. But I don't think it is. I think people are still, including me, underestimating how really good is Houston. I think they're better than what people think. But I'm going to go Duke by 9 in the other side.
Wow. Okay. So you're going to go Duke by 9 and Florida by 5. I'm going to go Duke by 2. So give me Houston plus the points. I think they miss a shot at the end and Duke holds on. And I'm going to go Auburn by 3. I think Miles Kelly's going to have a big game for Auburn. Remember, the last time they played, it was one of Florida's better games and one of Auburn's worst. I think the Tigers, with their seasoned group, seniors, Janai Broom will have a big effect inside. I give Auburn the win, and I give Auburn the win over Duke. War darn Eagle. The Chuckster will be celebrating on Monday night late with Bruce Pearl. Give me Auburn, the longest shot on the board, to hoist the trophy. Who you got Monday night hoisting the trophy?
I've got, in my bracket, I have Duke over Florida, and that'll probably be about a 3-point game. But if Duke plays Auburn, I would say Duke by about 6. If Houston gets there against Florida or Auburn, I'm going with Florida or Auburn again. I'm going to go close games. I'm not going any blowouts.
A lot of ifs and drinks of fifths and all that stuff. But we thank you all for tuning in. For the birthday boy, Coach Young, I am Matt Hatfield. We'll do it again with you next week as we get closer to the PIT. And by the way, we'll have some PIT tickets to share and give away with all of you come next week, right here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on CoVA Sports TV. Have a great sports weekend. Enjoy the Final Four, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.